We all have that one friend, the one who says exactly what's on their mind, no matter what. And that's Shital Mars.
That's right. Every week, my friends and I dive into whatever's on my mind: sports, politics, pop culture, even my own struggles, you name it. If I'm thinking about it, we're talking about it.
Unfiltered, unapologetic, and just a little dangerous. Get ready for the wild ride that is Shital Weapon. You've been warned.
Welcome, everybody, to whatever episode of Shital Weapon this is. I've lost count because after 3, it doesn't matter. It's all winning now. I'm Lethal Shital. Everybody who's listened to the show knows Biggie Trog, and we have a special guest on our show today. Eric is joining us. I don't know if you want me to say your full name.
I'm fine either way. It's pretty much an alias at this point.
So we have Eric Smith on the show. You might get a nickname by the end of the show if I can think of one.
Sweet. I can't wait.
Have you heard the show before?
No, I haven't listened to it.
This is fantastic because you're the first guest who's been on the show who hasn't been traumatized by the show before. So to give you an idea, this is an exercise in stream of consciousness trauma dumping. We talk about topics. They're random. Mm-hmm. My brother is here to help me stay on topic. He does a very bad job of it. Exactly. Nobody really cares. And the running joke is we only allow one listener at a time. So you might not even get to hear yourself on the show because if that slot's taken, you're just going to have to miss it.
Yeah.
We don't want listeners.
I'm here for the fun.
Exactly.
So today I wanted to talk about a couple of different things that I've been thinking about a lot, especially with the climate in the world today. And I don't even really want to think about it politically, but it just even personal experiences. And what I know of you is that, especially the messaging that I see that you put out on social media and how you are, around me and the kids and everything else, is you are just the embodiment of positivity and calm and peace. And wow. I thought, especially when it can be so heated and so passionate, and I can definitely get passionate about things, it would be nice to talk to somebody who's on this journey, has had some success with finding some peace, or at least you seem like you're finding it. And so, I want to give you an opportunity, right at the top to kind of introduce yourself and tell us more about you, because I actually know very little.
Yeah. No, my name's Eric Smith. I'm 34. I'm born and raised in Florida. I ended up coming to the area after I went to school. I got 2 bachelor's degrees, one in mathematics and one in computer science. I ended up becoming a software developer. And it was just a very peaceful job, you would imagine. I've been doing that.
Major too. I'm shocked. How did we not know this about you?
I know. Yeah, I mean, I could tell by the way that you describe things, the way that your mind works is very similar. You can always spot people who think that like computers. I always put it like logically. It's like there's a logical step to things, and when you practice in that, that's the way that you kind of present yourself. But I became a software developer right after college, and I worked for about 2 years, and I met my now ex-wife, but then wife. She was a neighbor of mine, and we got pregnant and had our son Rowan around 2016. And then 2017 we had Emmy, not that long after, about a year and a half after that. And then about 2018, it felt like, looking back on it now, life kind of just hit all at once. I was now 2 kids deep. In the course of 2 years, I went from being like a single bachelor who had no responsibilities besides taking care of myself. So all of a sudden I got a wife, I got 2 kids, I got a house, and all of a sudden it just all hit. I ended up finding myself with all kinds of mental health issues. I was in probably the worst depressive state I've ever been in. I had no idea what I was, because up until that point, I would say I'd lived a pretty privileged life. I didn't really have a traumatic childhood, I would say, especially at least from my parents. I've come to realize that life in itself is kind of traumatizing, just societally.
Just existing? Yeah.
Eh,
Yeah.
but I would never, to this day, I couldn't really point to anything specific that like caused some of the things that I've noticed in myself about the way that I navigate in this world through trauma. Um, and so at that time, I mean, at this time, this is the first time experiencing all, and it's just hitting like a ton of bricks, like an avalanche almost. I started going through marital issues. I'm responsible for these lives, and I've barely started taking care of myself. Financial problems, and I don't know anything about any of this stuff, and I was anxious all the time. It looking back on it now, I can say that there wasn't a moment where I was not feeling some sort of anxiety. It was like constant. It was constant running. I think a lot of people can relate to that. But because of the some of the issues I was having in my relationship, we started going to couples therapy, which ended up being just my therapy. But in that, they started recommending things like mindfulness, meditative walks. And I had had some experience with meditation before, not for the sense of like as a deep practice. I looked into it when I was younger, like a teenager, as a way to like help me sleep. As I had one of those
Mm.
active minds, still kind of do, but I had one of those active minds that wouldn't, I think a lot of people can understand, like would not shut off, especially at nighttime. And so I, as my mind is wont to do, I did a bunch of research, and I came up with. I heard a lot of people recommending meditation, so I started doing that to help me sleep. But like I said, it wasn't a regular practice or anything. But when I started therapy, they recommended being mindful. So I did the same thing. I started doing a bunch of research on things I can do with that. It started out as walks. I would take walks when I felt myself like getting really, really anxious. Mindful walks was my way to just get um, out of the environment that was like causing all my stressors or whatever, and just be with my body, with what it was doing, and that kind of that repetitive motion of walks. And that has stuck with me to this day. It's still a practice I actively do all the time. It's just to go out and take walks. It's like one of my favorite things to do in on this planet. Um, but from there, I think I made a conscious effort to that the more I sat with myself and watched myself and noticed that like I'm constantly feeling this anxiety, and it's like it's not fruitful. It's not helping anything. It's like nothing seems to abate it, I would say. Um, if I was gonna be feeling that, trying to live in a way that everything was telling me I should, society was telling me I should, like all these things that I have to do or else the world's gonna end, then and it's not bringing me the kind of peace that I want, then I'm just not gonna do it. I'm gonna be me. I'm not gonna. I made I made an effort. I think I maybe even posted on social media around that time. It's like I am gonna make an effort at loving myself, finding out who I am, authentic me, outside of like all this other stuff. I'm just gonna try to live my life 5 minutes at a time. That was kind of one of the, I guess you could call it a mantra, but one of the sayings I would remind myself all the time is like 5 minutes at a time. Like I remember back in that time, my youngest was an infant still, and Rowan was a toddler, and my then wife had gone out of town, and I was just me with the two kids and the two dogs. And I woke up one morning and my youngest was sick. Or no, maybe she wasn't. One of them was sick. They had the flu. They started throwing up, and I wasn't feeling good. And it was all by myself and all this stuff going on. I sat behind my couch and I was so overwhelmed. I just started crying. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to handle it. I didn't have people I could reach out to or do anything about it. And so I just had to tell myself, like, if I'm gonna make it through this, I can only focus on this next 5 minutes, or else it's too much. I'm not gonna be able to handle it. So I was like, if I can make it through this next 5 minutes, then we can take the next from there. And it's the next 5 minutes. We can take it from there. The next 5 minutes. And so this one thing I just kept along the way, started reminding myself, like 5 minutes at a time, what's the most important thing, or what's the most logical thing, or what's the most loving thing I can be doing in this next 5 minutes that can help me either now, which is the most important, or in the future, or preparing for something that it may become useful. And that's really how I started to live my life. It's just whatever it was seemed to be the most pressing thing right in front of me, outside of all this, then I'll just handle that. And it kind of became like breadcrumbs, just leading me. I found resources for other mentors, things that people I would listen to, podcasts that I would get on, TV shows that I would watch, and it all just sort of began speaking to me, like lessons, things I started recognizing that probably were already always there. These lessons out there, I just wasn't paying attention to it. But when you start living in this way, where you're actively watching yourself and you're actively watching the environment around you, instead of stuck in the worrisome thoughts, the anxious thoughts, and just paying attention to what's around you, you start. I don't know. I just started picking up um, lessons, I guess I would say. There were just things that, oh, I've been in similar situations like this before, and I could have handled it much different. Like you start noticing your own cycles, that's what I called it. You start noticing like, um, oh, I've been in this situation before. Last time I handled it, maybe it was an argument with a spouse or something like that. I didn't handle it too caring last time, but maybe I should try it this time. You just get these little moments, I guess, where you get the chance to choose to be act a
That's
little
so
bit, yeah.
it's so interesting. And I have like, I'm there's so many parts of that I can relate to. I'll
Mhm,
tell you the one part that just made me laugh because when you're talking about the stress of your kids and everything's kind of going chaos and you just kind of break down in that moment.
mhm,
Similar thing happened to me, and Ryan's crying, and I finally just decompensated and started crying. And I remember, I think you handled it better, but I remember my husband coming out of the room, and he's seeing his wife and his child just losing it, and he just looked at both of us and went, "Only one of you can cry at a time. Like, you don't both get to do this. You
yeah.
choose, but only one of you." And
I l
and for whatever reason, like, I think your way of thinking about it is a bit more positive, more peaceful, but there are times when, Ryan's really being a lot, and not because of anything bad.
Yeah,
He's having an emotional moment. I wanna have an emotional moment. I've had a bad day, or we're both
right.
having a bad time at the same time, and I just remind myself, only one of us can cry at a time, and he always gets to go first.
Yeah.
So he goes first, we resolve that, and then I go cry in the shower. That's where I do
Mm,
it. I just
right.
let it all out in the car or in the shower and just let it happen. And I think it takes practice, because some people can think, oh, whatever the moment is. And I know that when you're a parent, that frustration can lead you to hit your kid or
Mm,
just walk out of the moment, and you lose that sense of responsibility because you're feeling high emotions too, that it's really difficult to kind of step out of yourself and
right.
control your mind in a way and go, I have to be calm.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so I find that how you've gotten to that place where you go next 5 minutes when you're feeling all of that emotion
Mhm,
coming from around you
mhm,
or even within you.
mhm.
Is, is it something as just taking a deep breath and saying that to yourself, or is the thought just coming automatically to you now?
Well, that's the thing is like, I mean, now it's more of a practice. Now I've made it my whole life is to find those spaces in myself where I do feel triggered to react immediately in those situations because of my heightened emotions, and it's almost a game now. It's like what situations like can I find that in any situation I find myself in life? Like, okay, it's here. I'm starting to feel it. Here's the time. Let's put your money where your mouth is. Do your practices and think about it. But at the time, what I would tell is I didn't start out that way. Like you said, it was a practice. It does take work to build up to that. At the time, it was just a survival thing. Like immediate, like when I first started, I was like, I knew that, like at that point, that moment, that story I told about my kids, and it's just me. I'm the only responsible adult around. Like if I fail, it all goes down the hill. So I had to do something, and I knew
Right.
that. I knew that me breaking down and just letting all my responsibilities go, like that wasn't going to solve anything. And I'm responsible for these lives. I mean I have to pull it together and somehow. And so that was just like, okay, everything is too big. Everything is too big. Let's bring it back to here on what we actually can control, like right now, in a survival mode. When I saw that that works, I was like, okay, maybe we'll keep trying it for little things. We'll just keep trying. Like it's just letting. It became a practice of letting go of the things that I can't control. Really is what it was, and it was like, if I can just do it 1% better, just a little bit, just 1% better than I did before, 1% better than I did before when I've noticed this happening in previous times or in previous or similar situations. If this is not an unfamiliar thing. Like bedtime for me is still a huge triggering point for me.
Hmm.
Like when I like at the end of the day, you know I don't my patience has worn thin. My kids seem to be ramping up. And they don't want to go to bed, but sleep is my haven. That time I think,
Yeah.
so like, oh, I can't wait for the sweet bliss of unconsciousness. And so I have it in my I have it in my head, like a plan. Basically, like I have like what I would expect that I would like to happen, and they're not going to follow my plan in my head, obviously, because why would they? I mean, why should they? But so that time is very frustrating for me, and as a time that I found like, okay, we've been in this situation every single night for the past 8 years.
Yeah.
And it is not, and we know how it usually works out. It usually ends up you being grumpy dad and getting grumpy and storming off and all this stuff. And then everybody's upset. They're crying. You feel guilty afterward. And then it never works out. So why keep doing that? And so it's just like, if I can just be a little bit more patient this time, I'm not going to be perfect because I don't think that exists. It's not going to be perfection. But if I could just do it a little bit better this time, then maybe those improvements compound. It's kind of like
Yeah.
compounding interest.
I wanted to go back to something you said, and I actually want to come back to what you're just saying now.
Mm-hmm.
So
No worries.
bear with me. Did you ever experience anxiety before having kids? Or was that a new experience?
Looking back on it now, I would say that what I I had definitely had experiences with anxiety. I didn't know that's what it was. I
Mm.
just thought that everybody everybody calculated every step for the next 100.
Right.
Like, who
I
doesn't
am
do that?
shocked. I was way too old when I
That's
found
right.
out people just wake up and just live their life.
Right. Yeah.
I'm like, that's not real. That's not real.
I still don't know what that means.
Right. I mean, and now that I've practiced and gotten some more space around it, and that's kind of what this practice, how I envision this practice going with mindfulness, with meditation, with a self-guided study of whatever, of being at peace, being at calm, whatever you want to call it. Is growing space around these feelings, growing space around these reactions. So it's like you still feel them come up or whatever, or the tendency for them to come up, but you don't get sucked in. And back then, I was an automatic reaction to, okay, well, let's start the planning process so that I don't face danger or face hurt. And at the end of the day, that's what it is. Is a fear response. It's a way that we try to
Yeah.
safeguard ourselves. And I was doing it all the time, just subconsciously.
Yeah, I try to, and we've talked about it on this show, being emotionally aware. And I talk about it especially with men because it's so common for people to have the perception that women are more emotionally aware than men are. But in my experience of talking to men, you know, having them recognize the nuance in their emotion, the
Mm-hmm.
difference between anger and frustration
Mm-hmm.
and annoyed or fear.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because it all comes out as I'm angry, but it's
Right.
not anger. It's actually so much more than that, and different than that. And
Mm-hmm.
if you know the nuance of it, you can actually address it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's interesting that in those moments when you're feeling a lot of times, and women are guilty of this too. It's not like it's just a stereotype that women are more aware. They may not be, but that you could pinpoint to an emotion that a lot of people don't want to admit they have. I mean,
Right.
saying that it was a fear response takes bravery just to say that it was that.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that interesting that you allowed yourself to experience the fear and then recognized it for what it was and then took it somewhere where you could address it in a way that allowed you to move forward.
Hmm. Yeah. Thank you. It it was one of those things where like it is. I don't think it's inherent to me. It's like not something that I just chose. I think the only decision point that I made was it was to watch myself and be honest about what I'm experiencing and feeling. Like, and even if I don't know the names for it, even if I don't know the definitions for it, I can be honest about how what it feels like inside.
Right.
At least to myself. And that's what it started out as. I mean, and I find that the more I've done this, the more I find that most people can't even do that, like take that
Right.
step, or
And
aren't willing, or it's
yeah.
scary, or yeah, sorry.
No, keep going, because that's exactly
Yeah.
how I think a lot of us
Hmm.
are. I don't want to say conditioned, but it's almost like that's just how it is. That we
Yeah.
don't sit with our feelings and we don't sit with our thoughts and we
Yeah.
don't know how to describe them. Especially for me, my experience, it was a learned behavior to
Mm.
even describe what I'm feeling to myself.
Hmm.
What is this?
Hmm.
Because you can go, I have chest pain and I want to go hide, but
Right.
talking about what is that? What's triggering that? What does that mean? What do I do with it? And for a long time, I just didn't know what that meant. I just thought, okay, I go 2 years, I get overwhelmed, I hide for 6 months, and then I reemerge and do it again.
Yeah, yeah. It's a cycle. I mean, everything kind of
Hmm.
goes like that, I find. It is a dangerous cycle, a self-fulfilling one. Because I think a lot of the suffering comes from the resistance to the feelings. I think most of the anxiety, in my case at least, that I found from watching myself, most of the suffering from our feelings is the resistance to it. It's like we're clenching around ourselves, we're clenching around our hearts. And instead of feeling that pinging that comes with emotion, I think that, to me, I found is the most important thing, is the actual feeling of that. I didn't recognize that like tingling, that pinging, as my emotion inside of myself. I did the same thing as most people. It's just like try to intellectualize what it is I'm feeling, and try to rationalize it and get to the root cause, and like all the, and reason it away. I think a lot of people try to do that, reason it away. I can't be
Right.
feeling
Or
sad.
I'm
Like I
not
can't be
allowed to
yeah,
feel
yeah,
that.
exactly. Yeah.
I'm not entitled to feel that. How,
Hmm.
I even feel that with a sense of privilege because, I have a house. I have, everything should be great. I look around
Right.
at the world around me and I have everything I'm supposed to have and I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do. So why do I feel that way? And then you feel guilty for feeling. And so it's
Yes.
a weird, like, you got negative emotion, then you put guilt on top of it. And then you
Yes.
put anxiety about the guilt on top of it. And then
Exactly.
you're just stuck
Yeah, and
still.
you wonder why most people are walking around with diagnosed mental health issues. It's because we're doing that with our minds constantly. That's what we're using our mind for. We've been given this mind that's like the most advanced supercomputer. This is like our minds. The basic human mind has put people on the moon, is responsible for space travel, is responsible for all this, and we're using it most of the day to beat ourselves up. And we wonder why. uh, it's not healthy, it's not fruitful, and the only way you get through it is by first recognizing it. You have to acknowledge that that's what we're doing, and the only way to do that is by watching it. And that's why mindfulness is really the key to everything, because you have to be aware. You have to watch inside of yourself, feel inside of yourself. I say watch, for me, it's more of a feeling. Sit and just let the feelings flow through. I mean, and whatever way you have to experience that inside of yourself is what you've been given to do that with. We all have tools. Like for me, sometimes I experience them like colors, or I experience them like temperatures, or whatever I
Oh,
have to
sometimes
do.
you get hot? Is that what you
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I tell you, it is. I mean, it's uncomfortable, and so on the base root of it, it's uncomfortable for us to deal with. I mean, the feelings aren't always, and that's why we tend to chase the things that make us feel comfy on the inside. But it's not always that way. We don't have control over the things that happen to us in life, and sometimes we're not going to feel comfy on the inside. And and it gets uncomfortable in there when you're feeling sadness, or like the ache of heartache, or like the rush of anger. But these things all have when you just allow them, and when you just watch them, they all have their sense of beauty in it. really. I mean, it's the reason we go to movies that like tug at our heartstrings and make us cry, or that we go to action movies that like pump us up and thrill us. Like that adrenaline rush from a roller coaster is the same adrenaline rush from anxiety, but you enjoy one and you don't the other. It's just the story we're given behind it because we're resisting one and we're allowing the other one to as just a ride, something that's fun almost.
Yeah, I've been talking to a lot of people and playing with this concept in my mind, not as a criticism of society, but I feel like it's happening more than it used to be. So we would go to a movie and we would willfully go to a movie that would tug at our
Mm,
heartstrings. We would read a
Mhm.
book that makes us uncomfortable, makes us question our perception, makes
mm,
us wonder if the world we thought we knew is what it actually is. And we would choose it,
mhm,
choose to
Mhm.
go there. And I feel more and more in the conversations that I'm having with people that somewhere down the road, and I can't even pinpoint when, it's the idea that feeling that pain, that discomfort within yourself, or even internalizing the pain that you see around you, like hearing a hard story, is a
mm,
pain you should avoid. A
mm,
pain that shouldn't exist within you. And if you're
mhm.
feeling it, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
And I find when I'm telling, like, a hard story, I'm getting a lot of pushback of, "Yeah, I don't wanna hear that.
Mm,
Why are you
yeah.
telling me that? Don't bum me out. Why are
Right.
you" you know?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so, when you're having and then that's just the external world, but then if you take it further to inside and you go, "Well, but I feel things." But I the world is telling me I shouldn't feel anything, then you just kind of push it away and you go, "Well, I
Exactly.
just don't wanna feel." And I
Mm,
wonder if sometimes when we avoid the pain within us, we also push away the joy we're capable of
absolutely.
because
Mhm.
you can't getting rid of emotion within you isn't just the negative side.
Right.
If you get rid of emotion, you get rid of both.
Yep. Yeah.
And I don't know if you're experiencing that too, or if it's you can just say, "Sheila, that's just you."
No, absolutely. I always look at emotions like a spectrum, like a rainbow. That's why when I say I look at them like colors, like inside of myself, it's a spectrum. They all exist on the same line. It's just different spots on that line, like a number line. And it's one stream, and I call it love. Like
Right.
that's the not the modern day sense of romantic love, but the Greek has a word for it, agape. It's this
Yeah.
divine love. It's just it is what it is. It's like all feeling is like the light that comes in before it gets split out into colors in the prism. And if you're cut, like you said, if you're turning down the tap on anything, trying to avoid the reds, you're not going to get the blues because it's all coming through from the same source. That's how I look at
I
it.
ha- I have a question.
Hmm.
So I've seen people get so uncomfortable they literally run away.
Yeah.
They will just get up, they will just leave, they'll go do whatever just to avoid that situation. So my question is, when those waves of anxiety and those negative feelings you don't want to experience are hitting you so hard, how do you actually get a hold of yourself and allow yourself to actually feel them and handle them when the situation isn't as pressing as taking care of young children or things like that? It's harder to really grab hold of your mind and actually still choose to experience things that make you uncomfortable or are difficult. So how
Right.
would you actually try to do that?
For me personally,
Hmm.
I made I made it a my number one driving force in my life is authentic expression. Now, because I've seen it work in my life. Like uh no matter what it is I'm feeling or what it is my mind is saying, allow it. Unconditional acceptance. Doesn't mean you have to do anything with it. Doesn't mean like I have to like because I'm feeling anger and I've allowed that anger inside of me, I have to go out and punch a wall or like throw kick stuff around and stuff like that. But I can admit to myself, okay, I'm feeling some anger right now. I know this has not worked out for me well in the past. And I know what my mind is telling me. Like I'm sitting here and listening to these thoughts and these angry thoughts. It's almost like and it's like parenting has prepared me for this because it's just the same way I would sit with my kids through their through their hard feelings. It's like the same way you would comfort an overtired toddler. It's just like, all right, here we go. And I found my mind works the same way as an overtired toddler sometimes. It's just like most of the
That's
time.
right.
It's like,
Yeah.
okay, all right, yeah, I get it. Yeah, you're right. That was not nice. Oh, okay, yeah. And I just kind of yeah, I just kind of sit with myself and these inside of my
Yeah.
head and listen to these thoughts, and I'm like, just come up.
I like that because I tell my son all the time, because he has big feelings, and
Mm,
that's genetic.
Hmm.
I'm like, baby, I'm sorry.
mm,
Like you, we didn't give you a chance. But I will look at him and I go, it's hard being 9. It's hard
mm,
being 8.
Hmm.
And
mhm,
I've said it for his whole life. When he would be 2, I'm like, it's hard being 2. And I never thought about it for it's a bit I like that you describe it as love. I never thought about saying that to me.
mm, yeah,
Saying that to me going, it's hard being 40.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. It is really interesting. It's fascinating in that way because I was the same way. It's like I'm still kind of that way. I'm very hard on myself when it comes to like, I don't know. I want to say perfection, but not like being perfect, but
Yeah.
like not making mistakes. I'm very hard on myself for mistakes. That's the tendency to have, but I'm aware. I'm a little bit more aware of it now. But for anybody else, and that's the number one advice I get from my therapist, from my like close friends or whoever, those who are really close to me, they'll say the same things. Like you would never talk to your friends this way. Like why you say it about yourself? Why are you like you would you
Yeah.
and that's the thing I've found with this really being mindful, really self-love is you have to bring some compassion into what it is you're experiencing. And it's kind of like how we spoke about with the anxiety and stuff like that, and how and the fear and how we can't admit to ourselves when we're doing that because it conjures up feelings of shame, and we think we should not be doing this because society told us we should not. It's not okay to feel. But uh, that idea in itself that things should be one way or should not be the other is the whole thing causing us the suffering is because we're fighting internally with ourselves. It's like I know I'm feeling this way, but I can't admit it to myself because something told me I shouldn't, or something made me believe, whether it be in my past or now, something made me believe that it's not okay. So I'm going to shove that down. I'm going to fight against it. And it's this struggle inside. It's like tug of war. The thing about self-love is that I've learned, the more that I've practiced it, is like I said, unconditional acceptance, that kind of caring that you would give for everybody else, you just turn it around and give it to yourself and say, I'm going to allow myself to be messy. I'm going to allow myself to be imperfect. I'm going to allow myself to go through the things that I go through. And the more I do that, the less big these emotional reactions start being. It's like the more you let yourself become accustomed to feeling the uncomfortable feelings, the less they start throwing you around. It's like exposure therapy for when you're afraid of something. Like if you're afraid of spiders, the only way to ever not be afraid of spiders again is to start hanging around some spiders, or it's never gonna go away. You have to get through the path, um, through the path through this stuff. I guess what I'm saying is the
Yeah.
only way through is in it. You have to
Yeah.
sit in it. Yeah.
The only way out is through, I
There
think
you
is the
go. That's
statement,
the that's
right?
the yeah. That's
The
what I was
only
trying to
way
say.
out is through.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that you bring that idea of exposure therapy, and also like telling yourself that idea of self-love and being kind to oneself. And while you were talking, like the phrase hurt people kept
Mhm.
coming to my mind, that if you don't acknowledge the hurt, you will express the hurt in
Yeah.
some form or fashion. The idea that you don't feel hurt, because I know a lot of people who are like that. Oh, I'm fine. I'm fine. Okay, then why is there a hole in the wall, Bob? Like,
Exactly.
like
Exactly.
I've been dating
Yeah.
myself so hard. I gotta find like Ashley with a EIGH. I gotta start using regular new new names.
There's
I'm
still
using
some
like
Bobs out there. I know a few Roberts who are kids.
but I think about that the idea that we can suppress our emotion. I don't know that anybody ever does.
Yeah.
I think it's failure to admit that it's there, but it always shows up. It
Mhm.
always finds a way to express itself, whether you're impatient with your children, whether you're violent, whether you are sensitive and easily triggered. Like, you're like, "Oh yeah, I'm over it. I'm over it." Then why is
Mhm.
your voice so high? Like
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
this idea that you can just be past something and not express it
Yeah.
is a weird thing, and I think people go, "Okay, I don't want to experience the feeling," but the only way to start having, peace within yourself and the ability to experience proper happiness, true
Yeah.
happiness, not just the absence of pain,
Yeah.
but
Mhm.
Yeah.
the elation of actual joy is is through. You
Yeah.
have to run through that torrent of rain to get
Mhm.
to the sunshine on the other side.
I completely agree. Yeah. It's one of those things where like when you start watching yourself and how your mind works, how your heart works in these situations, and you start realizing like, oh, the only reason I react this way is because I was afraid or whatever, and I was pushing down emotions. You start realizing, you start looking out and seeing that, oh, this is happening to other people. And then that's when like true compassion and understanding start coming, and it almost frees you up to be even more authentic, even more weird than what
Mhm.
go like completely the other way that society's been going, because it's just like everyone's got it wrong. We thought we had to follow the masses in order to live a successful life, but even they aren't happy, and you can start seeing it because you've seen it in
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
And so it's like, why would I keep doing that? It's making me miserable. And now that I'm being honest with myself about it, it's this chasing this, doing that, like this kind of stuff. It has never brought me happiness. I was just doing it because I thought everybody thought that's what we were supposed to do.
That's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah,
You do what you're supposed to
yeah,
do. It's that
yeah,
concept of masking.
yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Being what you're told to be, what society demands of you, and you can even make it micro. It's not even just society. What your boss demands of you,
mm-hmm.
what your spouse demands of you, what your children demands of you. What in each moment, and I always say I bring a different personality to everybody I meet because I'm trying to align myself with their expectation of what they need of me.
Right.
So I have my work version, I have my spouse version, I have my mom version, I have my friend version,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think I ever give my authentic self to anyone. Everybody
Right.
gets a piece of it, but no one gets the
Mm-hmm.
whole thing.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing
Mhm.
is like with the realization that you're doing that, you start seeing that everybody's doing that. Nobody's being their authentic selves for the most. I mean, a few. I mean, you can really, and that's the thing is you really start to be able to spot people who are free. And it's almost like that kind of, if you're not willing to do it in yourself, you can't. You almost envy the people
Yes.
who are free. I noticed
Mhm.
like the most teaching things for me is when my kids are when we're out in public and they're being their free crazy selves, because kids, they're born free, and they don't get
Mhm.
conditioned so quickly. And so when they're out doing their things, and inside of my head I'm like this, because I'm like that's weird, this is not right. Like you can't just be being having fun running through the
Just
store.
look at
Like
you all
what are you
happy. What
like
the
what
heck?
is exactly. How dare you? And
I said
it's
this
like,
in my yeah, go, keep going.
no, I was just saying, like, you realize, like, most people never grew out of that attitude. People are still miserable inside, and they see other people being free, and they just want to throw rocks at them. And it's just the way
Mhm.
that it is. But once you realize that that's also coming from a place of hurt, it's what
That
it is. I don't know.
exactly.
Yeah.
I told my brother, and I think it was in one of these episodes, I've said it a couple of times. I say resentment is a function of envy. People think it's a function of anger, but it's
Mm,
actually a function of envy. And
mm,
I also believe hate is a function of envy.
definitely.
This idea that someone is preventing you from having something that you're entitled to.
Right.
You're envious of how they can exist,
Hmm.
oblivious to your pain, and you're just existing in your pain. And me and my brothers will talk a lot about watching our kids, and we go, I don't remember being happy at 8. What is this? I
Really? I
didn't know
mean,
that such a thing was possible. And
yeah.
look at them just not having a care in the world. And I go, and so many people can go, well, I didn't have. My life is a life of restriction, of hardship, of pain, of struggle. and that is the way of things. And so if I have to go through it, so do you. And they will take that, not recognizing it's part of hurt, and take that to their kids. And that's where you get that generational trauma. If I had to go through it, you have to go through it.
Yep.
And I will say with me, I'm probably not where you are, which is why I wanted to have you on the show. But I I want I know enough to know that I don't want that for my son.
Right.
So I work really hard to be empathetic and compassionate and patient, and recognize that I should never steal his joy,
Right.
and let him live in that full joy as authentically as he can, and never put boundaries around that joy, however
Yeah.
he needs to feel it or express it. But I am obscenely cruel to myself.
Yeah.
Like to very bad proportions. And so I look at him sometimes going, why does he get to be happy?
I completely
Something I
understand.
would never tell him,
Yeah.
right? Because I want that for him.
Yeah.
And why don't I get to? And I will say over the last year, hence the podcasting and all of this,
Yeah.
is that starting that journey of being authentic. And because I kind of said to myself, why don't I get to be happy? Like, what is that?
Yeah.
Let me just do this and see what happens,
Yeah.
and discover who I am. What does it
Right.
even mean to be me? Because I don't know who that is. I've been masking so long.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's interesting that you say that, and I keyed in on another thing that made me feel better about myself a little bit. So I'll give you a little credit. Um, is that oh, I can look at you, and I've seen you walk around, and you always have just this gravitational force around you. This smile that makes you makes people want to pull towards you. Like it's this openness about you. And I actually never feel resentment towards that. I see you just walking and smiling, and in a big floppy hat, and with your kids and whatever it is, and I'm like, that's just happiness walking through. But sometimes it can be easy to look at a person like yourself, or someone who is either free or on that journey of freedom of being themselves, and go, well, that must just be nice. They're just like that. And that's
Mhm.
not for me. I can't be like that.
Mhm.
That you don't ever feel sadness. You just la-di-da through the world, and it's just great. And you said something here today going, no, I feel all of those things.
Mhm.
I feel all the same range of emotion that everybody else feels. And my choice to walk out and take those mindful walks is a choice.
Mhm.
Not just my life is just sunshine, rainbows, and picnics and butterflies.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the thing that I really noticed when I started trying to live here in this next 5 minutes, is that we have a lot more time. We have a lot more space around our decisions than we think we do. We feel these feelings and we think we have to rush in right away and do something to fix it or to avoid it or to whatever. But the more I started letting myself actually just fall right into these feelings, like instead of trying to run around and avoid them and do that stuff, they they rose and they fell, just like the waves. They rise and they fell. And I started, the more I let myself do it, the more I started recognizing, oh, every time they come and they go, they cannot stay for better or for worse. We can't hold on to our good feelings because they're gonna fall, they're gonna go away, just like we're never always gonna be trapped in our uncomfortable feelings. They always go as long as we allow them to go. And so the more I was able to do that, the more I realized, oh, well, now that I didn't spend 2 hours ruminating in my mind over how I'm going to fix this issue and stuff, that instead I just sat for 5 or 10 minutes, or I chose to go on a walk for 20 minutes, then I have more time to do all this stuff. Like I have all this time that I would have been spending in my mind, causing my own worry, stuck in the loop of my mind trying to problem solve problems that aren't even may not even be real. I think 90% of the things we worried about are made up, completely made up in our head. And and the more I was watching that, and more I was realizing that stuff, I was like, okay, well, I'm not gonna waste that time. I'm just gonna choose to do something I enjoy. Like I said, I'm getting the same amount of stuff done as I would have before, and I'm doing it with a lot less worry, a lot less strain, a lot less concern. So now it's almost like I'm more efficient. I'm more efficient at the things I need to get done, at work, or taking care of the kids, or picking up the house. That was one of the biggest demonstrating things for me, that this path of doing what's in front of you actually works. Was It's the only way I'm able to keep my house clean is when I walk through and I find something on the ground that needs to be picked up. If I can at least just get it closer, I don't even have to put it all the way. But if I find some clothes, if I can throw them on the stairs, then the next time I go up the stairs, I'll pick them up and maybe I'll get them towards the laundry room. And then the next time I'll throw it all in the laundry. I think a lot of people, when they feel like they're in a hole, when they've dug themselves into this hole of anxiety or depression, and they let themselves fall into the mindset of, well, I got to do all this stuff to get free. It becomes a massive undertaking. It becomes this huge plan that you have to, like, I have to spend all this time doing, and then I'll execute it all 100%, and then I'll be free. But it's a sunk cost fallacy. Like, it's not.
Yeah.
If you just make simple, consistent efforts towards anything, then anything is better than nothing. I think a lot
Right.
of times we spend, I like, it's working out is the best example I
Yeah.
have. Like, all the time I would say, I'm gonna start working out, but I can't start now. It's Thursday. I'm gonna wait till Monday. Like, I don't know how many times I've told myself that in the past. Instead of
I tell that all the time. My brother has heard me say that. If I get them in the zone of I'm going to work out, doesn't matter if it's Tuesday at 7 p.m. It doesn't matter if it's the middle of the month. It doesn't matter if it's 8:57. I'm going to go.
Yeah,
Like 9 o'clock has no meaning. The first of the month has no meaning.
exactly.
Like none of that has any meaning. Um, and that delay between the moment of motivation and the time you actually schedule to do that, you've lost the motivation. There's so much life that can
Mhm.
happen between those two times that you
Mhm.
find tomorrow never comes. The first never comes.
Mhm.
And so if you feel like working out and it's 5:49 right now and you're listening to this, put the headphones on, go for a walk. You don't have to wait
Exactly.
till tomorrow. You don't have to.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the thing. I
eh,
mean, that's what I was like, what's stopping me from taking walks in the middle of the day when I don't have it, when I've finished my work and I don't have anything to do? Nothing. I enjoy it. Why not do it? Nothing's stopping me but me. You know.
Yeah. I said I was on another show and they said to because I talk about same things of depression and
Mhm.
a few years ago it probably was the worst it ever was. And I've had bouts of depression all my life. It's
Mhm.
genetic. My
Mhm.
parents didn't give me a chance.
Mhm.
but, but it was this idea of that, and you said that digging that hole, and I said, you make this plan, and you say I have to do something,
Mhm.
and you say I have to do something, and what flipped in my head, especially over the last few years, for me to start this journey of that self acceptance is I can't do nothing, which sounds like the same thing, but they're not. One is specific. I have to pick a specific something to do
Mhm.
that makes me feel better. And the other one leaves a lot more room for error, a lot more room for it
Mhm.
to not be the right thing, the perfect thing, the all the way thing.
Mhm.
But as long as it's not nothing,
Yeah.
is all
Yeah.
that it is the only criteria it needed to be. And that I find that that's helpful for me to just go when I'm feeling overwhelmed, just say to myself, just don't do nothing.
Right.
This
Right.
Doesn't
reminds
matter
me,
what the next thing is, just
Yeah.
don't do nothing. Yeah.
yeah, this reminds me of advice that you had given me maybe 2 years ago. Yeah, because I was describing a lot of these same problems. I was in my head and I couldn't get out of it. Had no
Mm.
idea what to do. Felt paralyzed in almost every situation. And so I was telling Sheetal, I was like, okay, I don't know what to do because I just do nothing,
Mm.
or I completely just fail or something. And she told me, okay, then take each situation as pass fail.
Mm.
Don't worry about the quality. The quality doesn't matter, because if you don't do anything, well, that's also bad, right? Like your quality's really bad there too.
Mhm.
So
That's just fail on the face of it.
exactly,
Yeah, exactly.
exactly, right?
No
So just
partial
do
credit.
something. So, yeah, that partial credit is better than the zero, right? So
Absolutely.
just pass fail. Just do something or don't do something. Look at it that way. And that has helped me over the last few years, where I've been able to practice it. Yeah, and it reminds me of what you've been describing today, is this mindfulness. I never thought of it that way, though, but I guess that's what I've been trying to do, is actually just take a step back, look at the situation, and say, okay, I can either do something or not do something about it. And
Absolutely.
it has helped me tremendously.
Yeah. It's the only thing we have to do. I mean, I try to look at it like a video game, like a big story mode video game. It's like you got this big open world. You have a main story mode you can follow. You can also go on so many different side quests. And as long as you're like doing something, you're gonna get some kind of tool to use later or some kind of reward to use later. As long as you're completing something, like whatever's in front of you. I mean, we can plan. We can say we're gonna go 100% on this map, like we're gonna do whatever, but you're only stressing yourself out that way. I think a much
Yeah.
more enjoyable way for me to look at it is whatever I come across, I'll do the best I can with it. And sometimes the best I can isn't super great. Sometimes the best I can is getting out of bed, putting on my shoes. Like that's
Yeah.
one of the best pieces of advice I heard as far as when you're looking at something that seems too big is just put on your shoes. Is advice given for running. If somebody wanted to start running, but the time that they've planned to go run, they don't feel like doing it. Of course, you're not going to feel like doing it because it's something new that seems like such a big task. But if you focus on the first step, which is just putting on your shoes, well, then you have your shoes on. You might as well go outside for a walk, and then you're outside on a walk. Oh, well, I'm walking. I might as well. Maybe I'll add a few jogs in between, like for just a few seconds or something. Then after a while, well, I'm jogging for these. It doesn't feel too bad. Maybe I'll just keep going a little bit more. Pretty soon you're running. Pretty soon after a few months or whatever, maybe you're running these longer events. And then it all started with just putting on your shoes. Just something very simple. Just the absolute next easiest logical step. And I really started living my life that way. Like, what is the most, I wouldn't even say easy, but the most obvious thing I can do at this moment? Whatever. I just take a look around and say, where am I? What responsibilities do I have coming? Like, is there something I need to get done? Let's do that first. Is there something I could be doing that could be beneficial for me in the future? Okay, maybe I'll put some effort into that. Is this the most obvious thing that's right in front of me? And those obvious steps lead you on a path that you would not have picked for yourself. I would never have picked that I would be doing any of this stuff. I mean, looking back on it now, yeah, it's really great. Actually, I really love the things that I found that spark that joy inside of me. But if you had given me the choice to write the script years ago, I never would have been able to do it. And it's like I'm being led just by my own intuition, by my own likes, this stuff inside of me that just doing whatever feels right in this next moment. That's not harmful towards myself or towards others, as long as I'm being honest about what it is that I'm experiencing and what it is that I'm seeing, the best that I can, and then choosing to do something that's either helpful for others or helpful for myself, then the rest of the stuff seems to just take care of itself. All the stuff I would have been worried about inside of my head before, that didn't most of the time never ended up happening. The things that we worry so much about almost never end up happening.
Yeah.
Almost never. But
I
we just,
It's so
I'm just,
funny you say that
hmm
because you know my husband pretty well, and he's been saying a lot lately. Well, I just live the Shital life. I'm just gonna go out and live the Shital life, and I'm like, what does that mean? And he goes, well, I'm just gonna be la di da about it. I'm just gonna get in the car, and if there's traffic, and I'm just gonna not worry about it. And
I love
if
that.
I'm at the grocery store, if there's people, I'm just gonna not worry about it. And he's like the because he's a hyper aware person.
Hmm.
He's aware of the car 8 cars back and the car's 10 cars forward. He knows everything around him at all times.
Hmm.
And it causes a lot of anxiety.
Hmm.
And I used to tell him, because he would get so mad at other drivers, or cars cutting in front or going fast and slowing, like he would talk about that. And I would just shy away in the corner, and he goes, what? You don't agree that this is annoying? I'm like, dude, I am that. I don't I can't be judgy. Like, I
Exactly.
only know my car and the car in front of me. My job is to not hit anyone in that is adjacent to me,
Mhm.
and that's the
Mhm.
only thing I'm aware of. I don't need to know who's back there. I don't care where he's going. I don't care if he slows down or speeds up. I'm not aware
Mhm.
of any of that. I just know that if he slows down in front of me, I have to slow down. So
Yeah.
when
Mhm.
he's in front of me, that's when I pay attention. And so I'm like, I just don't think about these things. He's like, I don't know how you can live that way. And I said, the the things I said to him, and we talked about it recently, because he's like, you just don't aren't bothered. I said, no, there are so many real problems in my life.
Mhm.
There's so
Mhm.
many real tasks that I need to get done. There's so many real things that could happen and do happen that
Yeah.
I need to actively prevent in my life. And I don't have room for
Mm.
potential things.
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
don't have room to put made up things in here.
Yeah.
So I just
Oh,
don't worry about it.
exactly. And those, I love that. And then it sounds like you're being a, that's what starts to happen is when they see the piece that you're having, they're like, oh, you shine your light. That's what they mean. Like, when you shine your light, it's like it opens up a new sense of perception that other people didn't look at it from this perspective. They've never, they had no example. We're all of us are just a product of the things that we've been exposed to in our whole lives. We're just a big culmination of all of our experiences. I like to think of my mind like a computer. This is a big AI program that we're constantly feeding stuff
Mhm.
into, and then it spits out what it thinks the thing that we should do is. And if all we've ever seen or all we know is to be constantly planning or be anxious about these things or like try to avoid our fears, then that's going to be the first step, and we just keep using that, we keep strengthening it. We don't know that there's another way until we see somebody actively doing something another way, and we're like, oh, I didn't even think about it like that. I didn't even know that was. And that only happens when we allow ourselves to be authentic and express ourselves and do the things that and demonstrate, make our lives be a demonstration of the things that we practice. Because those moments, like in the car, are a, a welcome practice ground for anybody. Because we'll never be able to deal with the big stuff in a patient way unless we're able to start with the little stuff. I say that about like pull-ups or push-ups. You'll never be able to do 20 if you can't do one. So you start with the one. You just start that until you can do one at least. And like things like traffic or weather, these things you obviously have no control over. But we let it stress us out all the time. We let us stress us out all the time. And we start in our mind coming up with the stories on why this stuff is happening to me and why we feel justified in our thought process. But at the end of the day, that conversation that we're having in our head is just stoking that fire of impatience, is stoking that fire of anxiety, is stoking that fire of woe is me, this discontent with the world. Uh, but those all could be moments that like I said, with exposure therapy, where we're just letting ourselves sit with it. Like, okay, I am frustrated with this traffic. Now what? And that's the thing is like it's challenging your mind. Like I said, with and compassion comes into it's like a flip
Mhm.
side, two sides of the coin. We're compassionate with ourselves by allowing ourselves to be what it is, but sometimes we have to challenge it when it's like very stringent on what it wants, or when my mind starts to feel very righteous, like, oh, I know I'm right. Like, this everybody else is wrong. Like, they're not doing it the way that I was. It's like, okay, they're doing it, and you're frustrated. Now what? Now what? What does it get you? Is that helping the situation? No, obviously not. So let's just sit with it and let everything be what it is and see what happens. And if a situation presents itself for you to do something about it, then do it. Put your money where your mouth is. Then help, serve in some way. But if there's nothing you can do about it, just let it be what it is. You're making up the stories that'll never be right. People, like you said, we never know what's going on with anybody else's life. We never know what's going on inside anybody else's head. We can have close approximations, but if it's not within within our range of perception with our senses, with our five senses, it's never can be 100%. We can never
Yeah.
accurately predict what I can't know what's going on outside this closet right now. I mean, I have no idea. I have guesses, I have approximations, but it's all of it is a story. It's all made up. This is a running narrative inside my head of what must be going on out there, but I will never know with 100%. And I can't control any of that right now. All I can control is what I'm doing here, and I have led myself to be able to trust that the things that I need to take care of will get presented to me. That's the faith that I step out on. It's like the things that I really need to take care of, it's going to make itself obvious. I won't have to go searching for the problems. The problems will present themselves to me. In fact, they always have, over and over and over again. In fact, you get multiple chances to fix
Yeah.
these problems. It never stops being served up to you until you choose to do it in a more loving way, a more compassionate way.
Do you ever feel, and you said something earlier about, you know, you make these choices of what's in front of you. That
Mm.
that moment, that next 5 minutes. And I have a tendency, I call it glitching. And so you talk about this AI computer, and I
Yeah,
have 8,000 tabs open. I
yeah,
don't know where the sound is coming from. I don't know how to turn
yeah.
anything off. And the thing in front of me could be any one of a number of
Right.
things to do that's in front of me. And I struggle with getting overwhelmed. Like
Mm.
this idea that, how do I, in the next 5 minutes, I feel like, and this might not be true, right? It's a perception thing, it's a
Mhm.
story you're telling yourself. But I feel like in the next 5 minutes, I need to accomplish 20 things.
Mhm.
It's not obvious to me the one thing I can choose to do that is or isn't, that's right in front of me. And because I'm seeing, everything in panorama,
Mhm.
I end up doing nothing.
Yeah.
And do you ever find yourself struggling in that 5 minutes, go choosing the thing to do? Because even in a crisis situation where you only have milliseconds to make a
Yeah.
decision, sometimes it's like, okay, take the seatbelt off, get out of the car, check on the kid. Like,
Right.
when you have that list of things that you can do in the next millisecond, which
Mhm.
one of those do you choose? Do you ever find that
Y
you
Yeah,
struggle?
all the time. I mean, and I think that's the human predicament really, is that when we're trying to lead that and trying to make those decisions for ourselves, we're always going to come up on situations where there's multiple things to do. Actually, that's one of my biggest things. One of my biggest things that I focus on practicing or noticing about my life right now is those moments where I'm surrounded by things needing my attention. And it happens a lot to me now with my kids by myself. I got 3 kids. They all have different needs. They're all asking me for something at the same time. And it always seems to happen that way where nobody wants me for like an hour, but then all of a sudden they come all at the same time. It's like, Dad, I want this, Dad, I want this, Dad, I want this, da 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 da. And I feel it immediately, like that rush of overwhelm inside of myself. My head starts spinning, and it's overstimulation really. And what I've tried to practice doing now is removing myself from it, giving myself the time, not like sometimes physically walking away because sometimes that's the best option, but really taking a breath, taking a moment. Nothing's on fire here, and
We
there's
hope.
something, unless something
But
is
something
on
is on
fire.
fire, and then you deal with that.
And
That's the
then
best.
that is the one. And exactly. And that's what I mean. The most important things will present itself. But if it's one of those things where you have 5 seconds, take 5 seconds. Take the extra time. It's like a pitch clock almost. Like in baseball now, like the pitchers have I don't know what it is, 45 seconds or something, or
Mhm.
so a certain amount of seconds before they can throw their pitch. Take the time. Take the time. I think that's what I meant earlier when I said that a lot of us are just we feel like we have to react right now, but the reason we feel like we have to react right now, every time, if you trace it back, is because you're feeling some uncomfortable feeling inside. And if you just let yourself take 5 deep breaths into this uncomfortable feeling that I'm feeling inside, for me, it's the overstimulation, the overwhelm. Let myself feel this feeling for that's just an extra 5 seconds, then almost always the next response is much better than it would have been if you reacted immediately. Almost always, because you let yourself, you're not, it's like, I think of it like all the tabs are open. Taking that deep breath is like opening up the task manager on the computer and just shutting everything down. Just say, okay, shutting everything down. The next thing that pops up, I'll handle that. Whatever it
Mm.
is. And that's the thing, it takes a tremendous amount of faith and trust in yourself. It takes a tremendous amount of faith in yourself that your instinctual behaviors in any given situation are the appropriate behaviors. And they always have been. Anytime that I've been the most worried or concerned or anxious about what I was gonna do in a certain situation, and I planned it out in my head, and I thought about all the different simulated scenarios, and I was like, if this happens, I'm gonna do this. If this happens, I'm gonna do that. None of it ever ends up happening, and I always go with an instinctual thing anyway. I spent all that time planning, none of it happened, all that time worrying, all that time anxious, and then I ended up going with my instinctual thoughts anyway, or my instinctual habits anyway, or my intuitive response to these things anyway, and it worked out. You've gotten all of us, no matter where we are, if we're sitting listening to this podcast right now, whoever, you've gotten through 100% of the issues you've ever had in your life, or you wouldn't be here. You got
Right.
through 100%. You have an amazing success rate. And we don't give ourselves enough credit with that. We have been able, and almost we've never felt prepared for it. We the biggest things, the biggest challenges we've had in our life, we've never felt like we were ready for it. At least for me. I mean, maybe I'm the only one,
Yeah.
but
No.
anytime that I come across in my life, now that I'm like watching myself and seeing these things happen real time, I'm able to go back and analyze the times that I felt like this in the past and say, oh, back then I thought I felt the same way. Like I didn't know what to choose, and that I had to come up and I had to come up with this master plan. And it didn't work out that way. And I met it and I overcame. I met it and I overcame every time, every single time. And so it's like I have all this backlog of data, 34 years, that's what I am now, of data of me overcoming things by just showing up authentically with whatever gifts I have in that moment. And they're always going to look different in any moment. I think of it like a configured state on like a video game or like a computer or technology. I always take it back to technology, but like my state is different at different parts of my life. But whatever my state is, I've had the tools that I needed to overcome whatever came up. Like when I was back when I had the kids by myself and I was crying behind the couch, 5 minutes at a time popped into my head because I probably heard that from somewhere else, and it was floating
Sitting
around in
there.
there,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
it zoomed in right when I needed it because I let myself open to it. I left myself open to that possibility, and I think that's the. Go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
One thing that I've noticed, so in terms of like choosing,
Hmm.
so I had to figure out that if there isn't an immediate answer, then I start thinking, well, is there a way for me to actually prioritize this?
Right.
And if the answer is no, not obviously anyway, then I can do one of two things. I can spend the next 2 hours trying to pick, or I could do things in those 2 hours and at least I've gotten something done. Another thing that then happens though is when I make that choice, just whatever it is,
Hmm.
if it's not the correct thing to be doing, it will spur on the more important thing will pop
Yeah.
up and say, no, 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 stop this thing. This isn't the most important. You got to be over here. And that wouldn't have happened if I wasn't paying attention or doing things. If I was just in my head, sitting going, I don't know what to do. What should I do? I won't notice that those signs that
Right.
show me what the important thing is to do.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that. That's exactly. I mean, that's how I've experienced it. It works for me. Is that life we're moving by us like we're floating down the river, and we see something on the edge of the bank, and we try to fight so hard to get to the edge of the bank, some tasks that we think we need to do or accomplish, and we grab onto like a root that's hanging off, and we're trying so hard and the current is still pulling us this way, but no, I got to get to that thing on the side of the river, and it's struggling and it's stressful and it's but if we just let go, then there was another exit. It was like the current was going to bend that way anyway. We were going to get off.
Yeah.
We were going to get there.
It's so funny you say that because I always tell people my path to here. One, I would never want to go backwards and change any of my decisions.
Yeah.
One of the things I always tell myself is I always made the best decision I could have made because that was the decision I made.
Mhm.
Even if I
Mhm.
went back, I would be in the same stimulus, the same moment, the same body, the same knowledge. So that's the decision I made, and that was the best I could do because that is what I did.
Right.
Mhm.
And I think listening to you, I hear so many rebuttals of what I've heard from other people in the past and even things I've told myself, which is that instinctual when you're planning, planning, planning. So many people will look back on their life with regret.
Mm.
and say, well, I made the bad choice here, which led to the bad outcome here, which led to this pain or trauma that I've experienced. And so now I have to over manipulate, over orchestrate my life
Mm-hmm.
to prevent those moments, because I don't trust myself to make good decisions, because I made decisions that I am not happy with, and maybe weren't happy with then.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so you kind of approach this path forward with regret, and so many people, when I say, "Well, you can plan and plan and plan, but that won't change the way the skies open up on you." Like, it
Mm-hmm.
just doesn't. You can't control everything, and they will go, "But I'm gonna try anyway, because if I let go, the current will overwhelm me.
Mm-hmm.
The current will take me where I don't want to be. Not that
Yeah.
I could find a path through to where I do want to be, but it's going to take me inevitably where I don't want to be." And I remember hearing something that was really important to me a few years ago, but you can see it on TikTok all the time now, where it's this mantra of, if you tell a skier, look out for the trees, all they will see is trees.
Mm-hmm.
Trees, 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 trees.
Mm-hmm.
And what's gonna end up happening is you're gonna hit a tree because you can't see all of them.
Right.
You're looking all around trying to gather every tree. And they say, when they teach, especially skiers, like through hard courses, they say follow the path. So the mindset in your mind as you're going through is follow the path, follow the path. And then all you ever see is path. All
Mm.
you ever see is open snow.
Oh man, I love that.
And I've tried to apply that to my life, because I took stock of it recently, and I don't know if you've ever seen The Good Place. I relate
Hmm.
everything to a TV show. There's
Me
so many
too.
Friends references in this. Like, but I was thinking about The Good Place, and I call my pathway to where I am now, which I'm happy. I would never want to go backwards. I'm happy where I am now, as regardless of how perfect or imperfect it is, and how
Mm.
messed up or not messed up I am. I call it the Jeremy Bearimy of paths, because people think it should be, because we get told by society and by life, you have great parents, you live a great life. If you are so inclined, you go to college, or you find that next thing you do as adulthood, and you get married, and then you have children, and then you buy a house, and then you succeed in your career, and then you have a retirement, your kids have kids, and like it's a map, and you're hitting the
Mhm.
milestones, and it looks linear to you, or
Mhm.
even looks like this upward linear trend. It doesn't go up and down. And as much as you can cognitively say, people say, oh, it is up and down, there's good times and bad times. The map everybody is shown is this linear thing. You hit this point, and you hit this point, and you hit this point,
Mhm.
and you hit this point. And when it was not a rude awakening, because I wasn't upset about it. But I fell off of whatever that line was, that map. I fell off of it
Mhm.
quick. And I had this opportunity of going, well, how do I get back on the line? How do I get back
Mhm.
on the path? The path is this, and I'm not on it. And somehow, by that idea, and I never used to say it to myself, but the idea of find the path, somehow I ended up and down and whatever.
Mhm.
And at major moments in my life, I used to just sit and take stock, and I go, I'm exactly where I want to be. I don't know how I got here.
Yeah.
I should, by all semblance, I should not have gotten here. Um, if you've seen Emperor's New Groove,
Yeah.
they're both racing to get to the same place, and Gronk pulls down the map. He's like, "It doesn't make sense. I don't know how they beat us here. By all accounts, this should not have happened." And
Yeah.
that's how I feel often when I look back at my life, or try to figure out where I am and be present in where I am now.
Yeah.
If I actually wrote on a resume bullets of the things I did and how I did them, none of them fall on the map, and none of them logically led here. But you draw this weird path, curvy road, backwards and forwards and up and down, and all of a sudden, that's how you got there.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, when they fall off the path, they're not, one, recognizing there are lots of paths. It's actually just open field.
Yeah. Yeah.
There are lots of paths to the place you want to be, but this difference of what should and what is can be very, very frustrating.
But
I
this
feel
reminds
like
me.
I should be here, but I'm not. But yet you're just as close to the end goal where you are as if you were on that path.
But this makes me think about something that how Eric was describing this whole process, the concept of instinct. Yeah, it's not random. You're not making random choices.
Yep.
And so it goes to that question of, you know, how much do you trust yourself? And you might make a mistake. It's not that, oh, our instinct is going to be great and we're going to make all the right choices. And you know, we look back, we see the path, and we see how many bad steps we took. But that there are times to reflect, learn, and improve upon our instincts, so that way when we encounter those moments again, we can trust ourselves.
Absolutely.
You shouldn't have to always be afraid of who you are and the choices you're going to make, and you shouldn't be afraid of making mistakes. We're
Or
still able to
shame.
learn, right?
Yeah.
Just learn from it and then go and, you know, follow the path a little bit better next time.
Exactly.
Yeah,
If
I think
we
fear or shame. I think shame is probably even more palpable than fear is sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm ashamed of what choice I might make, or the choice, even if it's a good choice, a choice that makes you happy. Like, people will internalize a shame about it. And as long as it's not harmful to yourself or others, you know, allowing yourself, like, to not dwell in the shame, because I always tell people the feeling comes. You shouldn't feel that way. A lot of people say you shouldn't feel that way. It's not should or shouldn't. I do.
Yeah.
Feel
I had
that
no
way.
I had no choice.
Well,
It just showed
but
up.
even if it is harmful to you, if it was the best you could do,
Yeah.
you know, the best according to your knowledge or whatever, then again, there's no reason to have shame. Just learn from it and then
Right.
do better next time. Sometimes we're gonna do stuff that's bad for us and, you know, actively harms our situation. But was it intentional? You know, if it was just the best we could do, that's okay.
Absolutely. If we I heard a quote that said if we went back and erased all the supposed mistakes we've ever made, we wouldn't exist. We would not be here right now. The mistakes were just as critical as formative blocks inside of who we end up being or what our situation in life are, as the quote unquote successes. It's like you were saying, i- if you the only thing that delineates between something that was a mistake or something that was helpful was did you learn from it? And like you said, like was I being conscious enough and aware enough to that when I allowed myself just to make an action and saw how the results turned out, did I study it? Did I pay attention so that next time it comes up, the next quiz or the next test I have where I'm in a similar situation, now I'll remember. Like just like you were saying, now I'll remember, and now I have a little bit more experience, a little bit more EXP. I always relate things back to video games. I have a little bit more
Oh, you're
EXP.
speaking to friendly people. We're
Oh yeah.
right there with you.
I have a little bit more EXP, and now I have the tools. Now I have the I have something to pull from. You know, all that we think we are. These our egos, our masks, these things, our personalities, is just a big culmination of all of these life experiences put together to make this big old ball that a source repository that we get to pull from in similar situations. And so when we come across another situation of something that we faced before that we may not have liked the way that it turned out because of our actions, well, now we have something to pull from that shows, like receipts that shows, well, you know, I chose this way, I paid attention to it, didn't work out the way I wanted to. Let's pivot. And that's what I mean by like 1% better. Let's just pivot just a little bit. Let's do things a little bit more. For me, it's always trying to choose to do things a little bit more, have a little bit more patience, a little bit more compassion, a little bit more kindness, a little bit more openness. Really, is what it boils down to. Is letting these experiences come in, letting myself feel what I got to feel, not letting it affect the way that I show up for other people. It's like the only
And
work that I can do for anybody else is the work that I do on myself.
I
Yeah.
like that you mentioned similar situations. they happen all the time. Most of the things that happen to us happen a lot, as if like your kids are never going to get sick again, right?
Yeah.
Like these are normal experiences. I mean, the amount of times that Ryan has gotten sick, that's like every month or something.
Yeah.
You have the ability to do better next time.
Yeah.
So just do the best this time, learn, and it'll come up again. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Two thoughts came up in my mind. And if you checked out my LinkedIn on the banner page, I say it's my quote. I'm sure it's somebody else's quote, but I on the banner page I design, it says, all I'm trying to do is do better today than I did yesterday, so I can be better tomorrow than I am today. And its action begets the result, right? So I have to focus on the better action today, so that I can look back if I'm a year from now going, oh, this I'm a lot better at. And you can use this with tasks, you can use this with skills, you can use this with mindfulness and focus and everything else. You can do that, you can apply that to everything. It is that 1%. It's like the accumulation of 1% is massive change and massive difference in your ability to feel better, right? And do better, and then you are better.
Yeah.
But it starts with micro changes. And I think I told my brother when we were, we talk a lot about how to motivate each other, and I tell him, you always have the opportunity to make a better choice. Every moment you have an opportunity to make a different choice, a better choice, a choice that you prefer. You aren't doomed to always make the same choice. And so even if yesterday you didn't take a shower, today you can take a shower. Right now you can take a shower. You have every moment you live, you have the opportunity to make a choice that would allay the anxiety you feel or the stress you feel, or it's that when you say the next 5 minutes, and I keep going back to that next 5 minutes, you have umpteen infinite opportunities to make better choices, even if the first one you make in that first second isn't the best one.
Right.
The next second can be a better choice and a better choice. And each time you make a choice is almost like it's a fresh game.
Yeah.
And I want to tell a story because I think it's funny always bringing up Ryan because he talks like a 30-year-old man. And you're talking to gamers too, so we're right there with you. So in a game, there's the main mission, as we talk about it, the main campaign, and then there's all the side missions. And there are times where I get really stressed because I feel like I've opened up 4 story modes, right? I've opened up 4 different, main missions, and I don't know where to go. And then all of a sudden there's all this other chaos that needs to happen. So I can't even progress on the main things that I think I need to do.
Right.
I have to go and do these other things. And I remember one time I was really stressed out, and then Ryan needed something. So we had to go to the grocery store. And I had to take care of that like right now. I don't remember exactly why, but we had to do something, and we had to go out, and we had to buy him something right then and there because he needed it within the hour or something like that. And so we go on there, and he can see me visibly stressed because now I'm putting off progress on something that I feel like I should be doing. And he goes, Mom, this isn't, you haven't stopped doing the main mission. He's like, this is just a parenting side quest.
Wow.
And he's like, you just need to do this so you can get more EXP, so you can have all of the tools to face your main mission. For whatever reason, this is coming up now because the world is telling you you're not ready to face that boss yet.
Wow.
And I was like, you can stay. Like you can just stay. But that kind of helped me out a lot when I'm feeling like I'm procrastinating or I need to go do something else, or I need to rest. Like
Right.
the guilt I feel for resting is crazy. But I try to remind myself going, this side quest is important for me now. I'm not ready
Mm,
to face that boss yet.
I
I
love
need
that.
to do
I
this.
I love that example because life you're not always fighting a boss. The
Right.
house isn't always on fire. Every 5 minutes is not a catastrophe. And so in a video game, again, there are plenty of moments where you're gathering resources or you're just waiting for your mana to regen or you just need to heal. You know,
Yeah.
like you don't want to say, "Oh, well, I got to
Just
go
don't
fight
take
that
too much of
boss."
that healing potion. I know.
Well, yeah,
I know.
but I got to go fight that boss right now. I don't have any mana. I'm at 1 life,
Yeah.
1 HP out of 1,000 because
Yeah.
I'm dying. But let me go fight the boss right
Yeah.
now like this. All of my equipment's broken. This sounds like the best time. I think this is definitely the best time to fight the boss. No.
Exactly. Yeah. That's
It's
so
so real.
true.
It's uncanny how much life lessons you can learn from playing video games, because
Yeah.
people often think that video games is the enemy and that instant gratification and that addictive quality.
Hmm.
But there's so many similarities, so many, moments where life is like a game
Yeah.
if you can see if you can see through it.
For those who have the eyes to see. Yeah.
Mhm,
That's why they say that in like almost every major religion they say that. For those who have the eyes to see.
mhm,
Because perspective is everything.
Yeah.
But all we have, all we are, when you really dig down into it, behind the stories we tell ourselves about who we are, behind our situations, behind our labels, behind all the masks that we wear for all these different people, all we are is the ability to notice things around us and notice the world around us, and then share it, communicate it, and that's what all art is. That's what all media is. That's what all video games is somebody's or a culmination of people's shared experiences of their perspectives on life. And there's no wonder that it imitates or that it affects us or it imitates life or that it
Mhm.
sparks recognition in us. Like it's like you were saying with the TV shows. I do the same thing. I'll watch movies and I see much deeper lessons than what they were intending on watching it because somebody had to write that movie. Multiple
mhm,
somebodies had to write that, and they wrote it from a place where, based off of their own life experiences, about the lessons that they learned going through life. And everybody has a story. Everybody has experiences that they go through, and it all can be helpful in relation to the things that other people are going through. And if you have, like you said, if you have the wide enough perspective, if you remove yourself from the emotional attachment to the things that we experience, if you just take a step back and look at it from a wider lens, I like to think of it like it's bigger around it. It's like what lessons can I learn from this? And and your whole life can be that. And that's what I've tried to make my whole life is what lessons are here for me. It's like trying to find Easter eggs in a game
Mhm.
or a movie. It's like I'm not put here. This isn't happenstance. I mean, you can believe that, but if I choose to change to flip my mind channel to the next wider channel out, where it's like, okay, there's something here for me. I'm not here by accident in this moment. Now, not in the past and not in the future that doesn't exist. That's infinite possibilities. But there's something here for me in this moment now that I will be able to use. That actually must use to defeat the boss later on in the video game. There's a hidden sword. There's a hidden
mhm,
tonic. There's an amulet that I'm going to need or something. These kind of boons show up everywhere in our life if we're willing to look around and notice it. But we get so distracted inside of our mind in things in the past, over shame of the past, or fear of things that are happening in the future, none of which exists anymore. The past is gone. That's one of my favorite quotes. I actually have a my phone background has a picture of Master Oogway on it from Kung Fu Panda. Because one of my favorite quotes from him is the past is a history, the future is a mystery, but today
mm.
is a gift. That's why it's called the present. And
Oh.
yeah, there's something that can be learned in every situation that I find myself in, something that can be applied. Because underneath it all, what are we if not but the emotions that we experience? Like all of our memories that get stored in our mind. When I think back, when I search my mind in my memories, it's like going through a cloud. and they're like little dots in the cloud, like little lights. And each one of those lights maybe is like a little doorway or a window into that scene that I was in when I was whatever in the past. But I don't remember when I'm thinking about a memory, I don't remember the words that we're saying. I don't hear the audio of the situation. I don't even see the whole video. I see like a maybe a GIF that just repeats itself over and
Right.
over of the things that
Mhm.
affected me. But what I do remember is the the feeling of it. I
Yeah.
absolutely remember the emotion that went with it. It's and it can conjure those same emotions that come up inside of ourselves, and that's what talk therapy is for. That's what it's just opening up an environment for us to revisit these times and feel these same feelings and then classify them in better ways. But all we are is our culmination of experiences in the form of memories up until this point, and all those memories are is emotion. And so if you can just sit with your emotions and become familiar with them, then you all of a sudden have this ability to have much more empathy towards everyone, because that's all everyone is. Like the way that my mind and my brain and my heart operate are no different than the way that your brain, your heart, and your mind operate. That anyone, that the no matter the political party, no matter the country that they live in, no matter the situations that they grew up in, from the richest king to the poorest pauper, everyone's mind, hearts, and bodies operate exactly the same way in that manner. And if I can become familiar, and that's what I say, my greatest gift that I can give to the world is the work I do on myself. Because if I can become familiar with emotion on that level, deep, deep, deep down, but underneath the mind stories, underneath all the stuff, then I can make myself a receptacle open enough that if somebody comes across my path and they also feel compelled to share in their experiences or they're going through something, then I can sit with it and I don't have to try to fix them, but I can sit and try to understand. And that sitting and understanding and acceptance is, like I said, is the light that is a change in perspective, because people maybe they don't. You're a safe space for them to practice. That's what I try to do. A safe
Yeah.
space for people to practice accepting themselves and their emotions.
It's so refreshing to hear you say that. Um, it's that idea of being, and I think we've talked a lot about ourselves, but having people around you that you can be authentic
Mm-hmm.
with,
Mm-hmm.
that you need a group of people that are accepting of your authentic self, where they don't roll their eyes at you or make you
Mm-hmm.
feel uncomfortable for being exactly who you are and being that safe place. I struggle sometimes because I'm seeing in a difficult pattern amongst certain, not groups, because I don't want to even say it's
Yeah.
about groups, but just in the society in general,
Mm-hmm.
of steering away from empathy.
Yeah.
This idea of, I don't want to care, it's too hard to care about me, I don't have time or the space to care
Yeah.
about you.
Yeah.
And so when I talk about empathy, they go, I don't want to be empathetic. I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to. I don't want to feel bad for anybody else. I don't want to concern myself with the feelings of others. I
Mm-hmm.
need to take care of number one, and that's me. And what I often find is people with that perspective. And again, I don't think that's isolated to a group. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's just, you can find it everywhere you go, and people you interact with, that they often are not good to themselves. Like, these are very unhappy people,
Yeah.
and seeing that empathy is actually for you.
Yeah.
It's same idea as forgiveness
Mm-hmm.
is for you.
Mm-hmm.
You harm you by harboring ill will and resentment.
Yeah.
Nobody else knows you're resenting them. Nobody's sitting there going, "Man, I can't live my life because Eric's mad." Like,
Exactly.
he is just fuming, and I can feel it from 3,000 miles away.
Yeah.
But so you hold on, and like, how I can never forgive them. Why should I ever be kind to them? Or why should I ever acknowledge their existence? I need to hold on to this, and you hold on to it, and people hold on to the most random of thoughts and memories and ill will to another person for
Yeah.
years and years and years. And they don't realize that the only person hurt is you.
Yep.
They just outlive in their life.
Yep.
You're the one hurting you.
Mm-hmm.
And so having empathy is actually for you. People
Yeah.
think it's for, why should I have some feelings for other people? What did they ever do for me? But when you have empathy, that means you have empathy for you.
Yeah.
You have compassion for you. If you can't feel bad for someone else, you can't feel bad for you. And you must
Yeah.
be really hard on you
Yeah.
if you can't feel that. So I find it interesting when we talk about empathy, wanting more people to not see it as weakness, that oh soft kumbaya, let's all live
Yeah.
life thing. Which, by the way, why would that be a bad thing? That sounds great.
Yeah.
but,
I
but it's
find,
a strength thing.
yeah, I agree. I tend to find that the people who have the hardest time giving empathy need it the most.
Most.
Yeah, because I mean, like I said, you never know what kind of situations people go through, but it's never been demonstrated for them. If they can't do it, then it's never been demonstrated for them. And I find that it's actually, for me, seems to be the other way around, to where it's not giving empathy demonstrates how to do it for yourself. It has to start with you. It has to start
Hmm.
with it. And the fact that they can't give it to anybody else is a testament that they are not doing it within themselves. And the only way that they will start to be able to feel like they have the space to give empathy for other people is it has to start inside. And that's why my thing, like, that's why I don't go around trying to tell people how to be, because
Right.
it's not. I don't know what works best for anybody else. I can only give an example of how I've lived my life and what seems to have led me to a place where I feel more at peace, and I'm able to hold more space for my own feelings, and so it has led me to be able to hold space for everybody, for other people's feelings. And I've watched people very closely that I've been close to start to shift their own personality behaviors because they're able to look at it and not feel ashamed, like you said, that shame or that guilt, or that the only reason we don't express ourselves, like you said, is because we feel some kind of sense of shame or guilt or regret for it. And the only way to get past that shame, there's a quote, and I just remembered it. It goes, shame cannot exists. Oh man, something like shame dies where empathy exists, or something like that.
Mm.
It's like if you meet people and you allow them to present whoever they think they are, no matter the worst of it, and you don't have your own stuff in the way. Like, if like I said, I do my own work on myself as a service to others. That means that I am constantly I'll try to look at myself like a mirror, the inside of myself like a mirror, or like a tube, or a glass tube, or something.
Hmm.
But I'm constantly watching, no matter what situation I go into. It's not like I have to sit down and meditate like in like 30 minutes in the morning every day or whatever. In daily life, while I'm going through the stuff, while I'm in the thick of it, I'll just check in with myself constantly. What am I feeling? Do I have some fear that's coming up that's causing me to act this way? Do I have something? And it's like polishing the inside of myself. It's like polishing the mirror of myself, so that when I go out and I meet with people, there's not blemishes on the mirror when they're looking at me. My stuff isn't being activated and coming through. Like, if they say something that would traditionally have been triggering for me, and then I respond ill, and then they respond ill, and there's a tension, and then it ends up being a confrontation, or it ends up being a fight, and then they shut down because then they feel like they can't be their authentic selves. But if I'm doing my work on myself to wash that stuff up, and they bring whatever they may be their worst self, or whatever their most authentic self, or whatever the things, the ills that they have that are concerning them, and I don't let it, and not that I don't let it get to me, it just doesn't get to me, because I have that empathy and I have
Hmm.
that understanding, because I've seen it in myself. I know why they might not know why they're doing the things they're doing. I have a sense of an idea of why they could be doing the things that they're doing, because I've watched me myself have that same reaction. And
Right.
so if I treat them, the golden rule, if I treat them like how I would have wanted to treat myself, or how I would have wanted to be treated in that situation when that was happening to me, by just allowing it, saying, hey, you come to me as you are, I'll love you no matter what it is that you present me as. I only see your hurts. If you're being
Right.
mean or angry or whatever, I only see it as somebody has done it to you. And it is a not a pitying thing, but
Right.
um
it's a
It's like,
kindness.
how can I
Mhm.
help? Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a genuine kindness. Some people can feel like that's inauthentic. Oh, I'm better than you. I'm holier than thou. I'm just full of love, and they can feel shame in themselves. They're like, oh, I
Yeah.
don't want to. Some people will actively avoid positive people, authentic people,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it shines a weird light
Yeah.
on their inability to be an inability to be authentic, and now I'm uncomfortable because I'm presented with a person who's too good for me,
Yeah.
right? I don't want to be
Mhm.
around that much goodness. I'm crap. I don't want to
Mhm.
I
Mm.
don't want to be, because when I'm with that goodness, I now feel even smaller than I did before.
Mm.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting when you can be kind
Mm.
and just go, you we're no different.
Yeah.
Your authentic self isn't on a grading scale, that we don't have
Yeah.
to make it a 10 or a 2 or put a number on your value.
Right.
Your value isn't compared to mine.
Exactly. It's
and
and
and and how do we assign that value? We like that calculation just doesn't need to happen,
yeah.
and only you are doing that calculation to yourself. I'm not
Exactly.
judging you.
Exactly. That's what I mean by like shining that mirror. It's like when it's polished clear, people only can help but see themselves.
Yeah,
Like, and that's the thing is like that's why I say I don't go around telling people what they need to do because I don't know what you need. This could be the 100% your most authentic expression of yourself. You could be fully enlightened. This could be just how you're how this incarnation has showed up for you. Who am I to say? I'm not living inside of you.
right.
And like I said, the things that work for me definitely aren't going to work for everybody. This
Mhm.
is this is what I've been given, and I'm choosing to take what I've been given in life and use it in the best way that I can with what feels right inside of me. My guidance system is not the same as everybody else's guidance system. People, there are many paths up the same mountain, and I think that fully following your passions, your heart, your creativity, the things that spark joy in you, in any capacity, no matter what it is going to lead you to the same kind of realizations of it. But you have to do it, and all I can do is provide a space that says like, don't climb back into into the shame of your shell. Like, do it. Come on, bring it to me. I'll be proud of you no matter what. Show up. Come on, because the
The
only way.
freedom to show up at the
Yeah.
level you are that day and that moment. You don't have to bring your perfect self to me. You
Yeah.
just have to bring a self.
Exactly.
And every time, and it's that pivot, it's that 1%, it's that I bring this self, and every time you bring yourself forward, it will get easier and easier, and it'll
Hmm.
get better and better, and you'll feel more comfortable in your skin the more you're doing it.
Hmm.
and and we're just going to be happy that you showed up. Like,
Exactly.
we
Right.
don't need to put a label on how good that show up was.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that light and that love, it's not about being fake, right? It's
Mm-mm.
that we want to be there for those people. But when we then talk about ourselves, so let's say I'm giving that love to somebody. Yeah, but I can only do that because I've been given so much love myself,
Mhm.
right? Like it's not, oh well, I didn't need any love. I'm the greatest. Okay.
Exactly.
But you need it. You're the worst, but at least I'm here. The amount of help that my sister's given me, or even the help that this podcast right now, all the things that you, Eric, have been able to say on the show,
Mhm.
that helps me.
Yeah.
And because that helps me, now I take that energy and I go bring it out.
Exactly. When I was going through my divorce last year, like when I was really in the thick of it, and I didn't know how. My biggest, I'll let you in. My biggest wound to this date so far seems to have been abandonment. All my issues seem to surround abandonment. Like I thought, the people pleasing, so that if I can make everybody like me, then I won't. Then they never leave me. And if I can do all this stuff, and then I had to go through it. I thought I was doing all the right things in my marriage. I thought I was bending over backwards, and it happened anyway. That was the best thing that ever, not the best thing that ever happened, but now looking back on it, it's the best thing that ever happened to me because I faced my worst fear and I had to go through it, and I had to use all these. I had to put my money where my mouth was, use all these practices. I mean, I found myself pulling from all the sources I had ever come across, all the help that I'd ever got, and having to actually do the stuff, the steps to move through it. And I got through it, and I was like, oh look, I survived, and that like freed me up. Now I feel like I beat the campaign mode, and I can go through and just open source world, do all these
I know. Now
different
I'm
side
just
quests.
collecting trophies.
But when I was going through it, when I was in the worst of it, Rowan would ask to go play with Ryan, and I had to take my, and I was not used to accepting help. I was one of those who I was like, I need to do everything on my own.
Oh, I don't ask for help ever to this day.
But when Cheeto and Bruce were so kind and so compassionate to allow Rowan to go over there and become almost a part of their family and just give me a little bit of space to handle the other two, so I wasn't juggling 3 kids at one time. It was the help that I received from them was so demonstrative for me, and it just the way that it just took a little burden off of some when I was going through my worst time. And it wasn't just you guys. It's like
Yeah.
the more like the more I was trying to do it the right way, go through my divorce the right way, sit with the feelings, no matter how incredibly hard they were, angels started appearing. That's how I describe you guys. These people started showing up in my life, friends, people I've had in my circle, but I've never really expected anything from, and they started offering this help. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, yeah, actually, I really need that right now. I really do
Yeah.
need that right
I
now.
love
Just
that
being
you
open
mentioned,
to accepting the love, right?
Yeah.
Because
but that offering, right? Because you mentioned, okay, you don't really want to ask for help, right? And I feel that, my sister feels that, but the beautiful thing was we didn't have to ask.
Yeah, exactly.
It
yeah,
was
Exactly.
offered, it was given out of just love and kindness.
Exactly.
And then I can take it because I'm not going to throw the gift in your face. I'm not going to be, how dare you love me? That's unacceptable. How dare you want better for me? Right?
Yeah.
I didn't even have to ask.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. My therapist said that to me one time. It really hit me. She was like, "Don't you think by denying the help that people offer you, you're preventing you're denying the how good do you feel when you are able to help somebody? Now, don't you think that by not allowing them to help you, that you're denying them the opportunity to also feel good by helping?" And that, like, I had to sit there. That was one of those moments where I was like, "Wow, why'd you have to hit me that hard?"
Mm.
That really hurt, but it was true. It was true. And so I just now I try my best when people offer help, even if it's just little things.
Mhm.
I'm I if it doesn't mean anything to me, okay, yeah, I really do appreciate it. Thank you. And I have to, and
Yeah.
it takes
Mhm.
like a really being honest with yourself because it's still to this day there's always that voice in my head that's like, I don't need it. I can do it. I'll be
Yeah.
all right.
Well, it's that, again, that thing of should. You shouldn't need help, so then you
Yeah.
feel bad, or
Yeah.
you say, well, if someone offers help and you accept it, are they going to be resentful, think that I'm
Hmm.
leeching off them, or taking advantage of the kindness, or any of these, again, stories that we tell
Hmm.
ourselves. And the vast majority of the time, when you are a person that is loving and accepting of yourself, loving and accepting of others, that you will find that people will come to you who love and accept you.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's the pull you now have
Yeah.
when you're kind to yourself. We have like 10 minutes left because we could talk for like 4 hours. I know that we could go forever. We might have to do a part two. Um, but I had a couple of questions because especially for, and I'm going to be selfish, especially for someone like me who's still in the thick of this journey and really struggling with the
Mhm.
practice of it, and the being the kind to myself, being mindful, being present. I had a couple of questions for you, and you answered one of them, which was, I often make excuses. I don't have time for me. I am the last person on my list if I'm on the list at all.
Mm-hmm.
And so each day, each minute is I go through all the things that I need to do for others.
Mm-hmm.
And that sense of responsibility that I have for others, and I feel zero sense of responsibility to myself.
Mm-hmm.
And when don't take this the wrong way. When I see your posts and you go, and I'm going on a walk, and I see you with the kids, and you've gone to practices, or you've gone to the park, and or you've sat and you've like meditated for a minute, and I don't know how long you do it for, or what your
Mm.
life is like when you're doing that. I often go, man, he got nothing else to do. He must be bored. Like he's just got nothing to do. Which I know in an instant, I know, man, he got 3 kids. There's no way he's got nothing else to do. And
Yeah.
so I wanted to ask you, what is that like? And if you were talking to me or anybody listening like me who feels like me, that the time it's the same thing, the
Yeah.
excuses we make for not exercising. I don't have time.
Mhm.
Um, how do you in a busy schedule, and that is very structured and scheduled, and the kids and the appointments and the
Mhm.
work and the obligations that you have, how do you set aside the time for this? Do you have a routine for it, or is it just the moments show up?
Yeah. I I don't set aside specific time for it. I mean, and I do have a routine, I guess. I don't stick to it very stringently. I try not to have routines. It's actively
Hmm.
my practice. Is I want to, if I can't carry mindfulness with me out into that stuff, into the chaos of life, into the structure and routine of life, then what good is it? And
Right.
that's what I tell myself. And so my whole life is my practice. While I'm at work, if by the grace of whatever you want to say, I say God, but the
Mhm.
universe, by the grace of whatever consciousness, and I'm able to become aware I'm here or I'm feeling something, then okay, then let's really be here. Let's use this as a chance to be mindful. Let's use this as I try to constantly be in a state of meditation. It didn't start out that way, and when I used to listen to some of my teachers, some of the podcasts I used to listen to, and they used to say the same thing, like try to be a constant state of mindfulness, trying to be a constant state of presence, try to be in a constant state of here. When I first started hearing that, I was like, there's there's no way. Like
Yeah,
I
that's
thought the
not
same thing. Like no, no, no. But I started little bits. That's where the practice comes in handy. The structured practice gets you into a routine almost to where you spend a little bit more time in that spaciousness of mind outside of the problems that the stories that we're telling in our head, and you see how nice it is, and then you want to get back there. And so it's like, how can I get back there? Let's try doing at first what I ended up doing was trying to do it more, trying to like be in a sitting meditative state. So typically I'll go out in the mornings after I drop all my kids off, like after I get the older kids on the bus and I take my youngest to daycare. I have a morning call for my work at 9:45. I usually get back by 8:30. I'll take 30 minutes and I'll go meditate. I used to do it out at the kayak launch. It's really serene back there, really nice. Now I'll do it in the middle of a field because I'm trying to encourage more people to be able to be comfortable doing stuff like that. But
or they just go, wow, that's a choice.
yeah, or not, like whatever. Like I said, I try to make my life be a demonstration
Yeah,
where like I don't have any shame. Like I'll do
yeah,
it, whatever.
exactly.
But so I'll do that, but for the rest of the that's a way to just kind of start my day out in that on that foot where I'm just going to be very present. And what happens when I meditate is it's not like I'm trying to force my mind to be quiet or anything. It's allowing my mind to be as loud and as active as it wants. It's almost like you wear it out, like a
Mm.
overtired toddler. It's like you let it wear itself down, you let it run, do it as once, and then it just passes out because you know that's what it is anyway. It's just tired. And so when I'm sitting in my meditation, I'm just letting my mind do all this stuff, but I'm staying a little bit removed from it. Like I'm listening to the stories it's telling without being attached to the stories it's telling. I'm listening to it like I listen to music, or like I listen to a podcast, or like I'm listening to an audio book. I'm listening to my mind do its stuff as a separate thing from me. And the more I do that, it seems to be creating this space around it to where I can try to hold that space without getting so immediately sucked into my problems during the day. And so I'll start out that way. I'll go start my day. Maybe I'm at work or something, and inevitably it's not going to work. Inevitably, you're gonna get sucked into the attention on whatever it is that's the biggest problem for you right now in the moment. But if you can, by the grace of God or whatever, if you can become aware all of a sudden, it's instant. Oh wait, it's been 2 hours and I haven't been here. My awareness hasn't been here. I've been so concerned with what's been going on. I've been in the stories. Then you use that as a chance to practice. Well, why? And usually the answer to why I've been stuck in it is fear. I'm feeling some sense of fear, and I'm trying to do that what we just talked about, where I'm trying to plan around it and figure out how to orchestrate my life so that I don't have to feel this feeling. But if but my practice now is if I become aware that I've been caught in thoughts, I feel into myself the fear that it's trying to protect against, and then I just let that fear in. It's like I try not to do the thing of protecting anymore. When I find myself doing it, I don't beat myself up about it, because that's something that's another tendency I would have early on, is like, oh man, I did it again. I'm never gonna get this. I'm never gonna be
Mm-hmm.
I'm never gonna be in presence. I'm never gonna um
Well,
you got to have grace for yourself with that, and like and realize one of the most helpful things I ever heard was, um, every time you bring yourself back to that place where you're outside of the thoughts, where you're back in presence, you're back here and not in the story, that's a win. You shouldn't feel upset at yourself for getting trapped again. You should feel amazed that you were able to pull yourself back out. Like
Yeah.
those count, like, and start celebrating each one of those. It's like, oh, I did it again. Like, it's like coming up for air. It's like we're kicking. Like most of us, this is how I imagine my life. Most of us, for most of our lives, we're kicking in an ocean, or like we're treading water. Sometimes we go under, and it's so overwhelming. We feel like have all this stuff braid on top of us. But every time we're able to come up for air, those are the moments where we're able to like be aware, be conscious. And so the practice is then letting yourself n- uh, stop allowing yourself to fall into it, and just keep building that muscle, that training, that muscle of awareness, that you're able to bring yourself out of it and be like, oh, I was caught in the story again. Oh, I was caught in the story again. Oh, I was caught in the story. And the more you do that, you reach this tipping point where instead of being in the story most of the time, and or being underwater most of the time and having breaths of air, you're in the air a lot more. You're keeping your head above water because you've trained your legs, you've trained your muscles, you're stronger now. Most of the time I'm here. Most of the time I am in a state of mindfulness, or most of the time I am in a state of meditative awareness, to where I'm not like I'm watching my mind do its things, but I'm not fighting against it, or I'm not inside of it. And then every once in a while I do get dragged down by life's events, but you're more prepared for those events. So you went from seeming like your life, you were drowning in life. Same circumstances, mind you. Nothing
Right.
on the outside of the world has changed. Same circumstances. You're going through the same stuff, the same stresses in life. But instead of looking at your life from the perspective that I'm drowning and I cannot get out, and every once in a while I get a breath of air, and I was just like, oh, there's always been good here. I was stuck in my mind. My mom was telling me a scary story, and I was listening to it. I was enthralled by it. I was captivated by it, and I was believing it. But I can also, infinite means infinite. There's infinite possibilities. That's the thing that we get scared of is, um, and what to me seems to lead us into the suffering is that every single one of the stories we've told tonight, the thing that was the catch, that was the hitch, that was causing us suffering, is we had an idea about how we thought it should be.
Mm-hmm.
And by doing that, by creating these ideas about how we think things should go, we are limiting ourselves. We are
Yes.
completely limiting ourselves if we think the only way we're going to be happy is if I get this, and this, and life goes on this path, and I hit all these milestones. That's the only way I'm going to be happy. We are stacking the deck against ourselves. There are literally limitless things that could happen to bring us happiness. But if, like you said, if we're only looking for the trees, we're only going to see trees. And if we're looking for the path, then there's nothing but path. And that's what I try to do, is not limit myself to one specific practice of sitting down, meditating. I have to be in pristine silence. I have to do it. It doesn't work. It has not worked for me. And
Well,
what does work for
I
me
wanted
is,
to hone in on that because so many people think that that's what meditation is. And I did too. And
mm-hmm,
I've gone down this path of trying to find the quiet in
mm-hmm,
me. So I get runner's high. The only time I've ever experienced quiet is during runner's high. And not everybody is a runner and they think everybody should be a runner because the runner's high exists. Runner's high only exists for runners.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
you have to be that. Like it's not for everybody. That's not your not everybody can experience runner's high.
yeah,
So when I'm in this place of the only time my mind is ever silent is when I'm under the power of my own feet and all I have are the steps in front of me. I can't, like, I have to breathe and I have to step. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And then now my mind is quiet. So when I sit for meditation, I tried to do this off and on throughout my life, and I would eventually abandon it every time,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because the story is that you should sit in the quietness. Your mind should be still. It should
Mm-hmm.
be empty. And I don't know if you experience this, and I'm really speaking to my experience or anybody else who's like this, but I'll tell you the way my mind works. My mind is a constant state of computation. There
Yeah.
are upfront
Hmm.
processes and there are background processes,
Yeah.
and there are thousands of them.
Yeah.
I'm
Hmm.
running simulations on multiple things all
Mm-hmm.
day. And then not even a sense of worry, just it's how I calculate the next thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just constantly running and constantly exhausted.
Yeah.
And so that part of my mind is doing that. So when I sit and I'm trying to be still and in the moment and present, the computer's going.
Mm-hmm.
And I see all of the processes that are just running, 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 all the simulations, all the thoughts, all the stories, lots of things are happening. And then inevitably, the only thing, and I think of that as being productive. Okay, I'm working through all
Mm-hmm.
the things that I need to work through. Inevitably, and I can only describe it this way, is a farting rainbow unicorn in a tornado shows up. And it's just like, wee!
Yeah. I love that.
And now I'm there. And
Yeah.
it's a weird, it's a happy feeling, it's a funny feeling. I make myself chuckle in the moment, like this is ridiculous, the
Yeah.
thoughts that I have or whatever's going on. And then inevitably, and as I try to pull the tornado together, because now the story is I should not be computing anything. And why the hell is there a tornado here? Like,
Mm-hmm.
why? None of this is chaos.
Yeah.
This is the embodiment of chaos. This is the opposite of stillness. This is not meditation at all. And so
Yeah.
now there's the beating up. Why are you like this? Why are
Yeah.
you like this? Why can't you get your mind under control? And now instead of, like, it was nicer when I just let it be the computer and the randomness, but now the rest of that meditative state, that stillness, is me being upset with
Yeah.
myself that I could not be still and I could not be quiet.
Yeah.
And so I will always, like, the my pattern is to always end up abandoning the practice because I end up feeling worse about myself.
Yeah.
Like, that was an utter failure. I don't feel better. I don't feel rested. I don't feel present. All I feel is like a failure. I just can't get, this mind doesn't work. And that's how I feel. Like,
Yeah.
this brain doesn't work. It's broken. And now how do I manage my day?
Yeah.
And so when you were talking about, you let it be the chaos. And it's
Mm-hmm.
almost like watching a movie that's playing around in your mind, an active dream state that maybe have more logical process to it, but
Yeah.
you're not in the movie, you're
Yeah.
watching the movie, and that is a meditation to you.
Yeah.
I,
Absolutely.
I think that's the first I've ever heard it described that way.
Hmm.
And if it is that
Yeah.
for you, or can be that for anyone, then anyone's natural thought process, as long as you're just with it,
Mm-hmm.
watching it, can step away from it, and you just let it be what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I can do
Yeah,
that.
that's all
Yeah.
it is. That is that's what it. That's why I'm very passionate about like explaining that because it was a big revelation for me too. It's like we and one of my favorite quotes is we got to stop shooting ourselves. We think we should be doing this. We think we should be doing this. We think we should be doing this. And even and our mind is so tricky that it'll take the positive things that we start trying to implement and it'll turn that into a game of should and like meditation it's like you if you're not doing it this way or if you're not reaching this state then clearly you're not doing it the right way and you're just a failure and my mind says that to me has said that to me all the time but that's the thing is like this game is not about finding a thing that works for you and is always going to work for you my practices have constantly been evolving they're
Mhm.
always evolving I'm always telling myself I think of it like putting little hacks inside my brain that like when it's like when I've noticed that my mind likes to tell me a particular story, like something, I will have a little response. It's like I'm adding new programs to the mind that will go off in response to that other program going off. It's like one of my favorite teachers. Ramdas online. He says these neuroses, these things that we have inside of our head that that have made us struggle our whole lives, they don't go anywhere. But when you're mindful about it, and when you're meditative about it, and when you're watching yourself, they just become like your little schmooze. They just become like little characters inside your head that you're just, oh, here it is again. Here's frustration again, or here's my tendency to be angry again, or here's sexual perversity again, or whatever it is that we feel like we're ashamed of that we can't have. They don't go, and you don't eliminate them from your being. You grow bigger around them. You make more space around them so that they're not all that you are. They're just a small piece of the things that of the way that you tend to be, the way that your program of a human tends to respond to things in this world. But you are much bigger than that. You don't have to let it make you do anything. It's all happening inside of you, inside of your awareness of the way that you experience the world. And you don't never have to let that stuff that happens inside of you even out, or you never have to let it make you act in any way inside the world. You can just watch it be what it is. It's like watching the clouds in the sky. I mean, there's stuff goes across the sky all the time. You got clouds, you got planes, you got balloons that somebody let go of, all this stuff. But the sky is always there behind it. The blue sky is always there behind it. And that's what we have to make our awareness like. It's more associate ourselves with that blue sky that these things, these thoughts inside of our head pass through, but then they always leave. And you know,
You just made me think of something. So when you said being being bigger than those things, and it then makes those things smaller, it reminded me of the concept that the more that you are, the more that you can give. And just listening to you, because you took the time to let yourself grow and let yourself heal and learn all these things and practice them, you are now here able to teach us, able to give all of these awesome things. I'd never thought about meditation that way. I also thought of it as the quiet thing that I could not do.
yeah.
Because you have become more,
Oh,
you've been able to offer me more.
thank you.
And I appreciate that so much
I'm glad.
from anyone who allows themselves to take a little time for themselves. It's okay, because the more that you are, the more that you will be able to give. And I have received so much from those who took the time to be more.
Mm-hmm.
And
love
I am
that.
so grateful for them. And I want them to be able to keep being more. They deserve to be more.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Biggie Trog is not in the studio with me today, like present. Usually we do it together right here. And so I'm like looking at him going, I need to give him hugs. He needs big hugs.
I feel that way so much about most people, but I'm very aware of boundaries and
Oh, I'm not. I'm just hugs. There's I don't know what movie it was. I'm that duck that goes, "You look like you need a hug," and he goes,
Yeah.
"No, absolutely not." And then all of a sudden, I'm just on you, and they're like, "Is it over? How are we done?" I'm like, "Is it working? Do you feel better?" No, then it hasn't kicked in yet. I'm just gonna stay here, just
Yeah.
pressed up against you.
Yeah.
Just, I'm just gonna do hugs. No, I do ask. I say, "Are you a hugger?" before I
Yeah.
go in, but it's it's I want to reiterate that sentiment. Like when I see you post, one, it always brings me to a positive place.
Mm.
Period. And I can go to really negative places,
Yeah.
and it's this little beacon of sunshininess in a really yucky place, which is online. Online
Yeah.
is gross.
Yeah.
So when you take that moment, that breath where you're doing for you, and then you
Mhm.
go, I need to share this. I need to be outside. I want people to see me like this. I had a thought, and it's a positive thought, and it's an open thought and a welcoming thought, and I'm going to take the time to write it. I'm going to take the
Mhm.
time to share it. And as you're looking at a feed that's half ads and
Yeah.
40% yelling at each other, and a little bit of like people killing each other over lawns, there's
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
all of a sudden there's this little bit like, do for you. Like, and it sounds silly, but for me, it pulls me
Mm,
out of getting sucked into all of that nonsense
mm,
and brings me to a really positive place. And so I'm always supremely grateful that
mhm.
you share the practice and that you embody the practice and that you're honest that you aren't always perfect. You aren't
No,
always happy. You
I'm
aren't
never
always
perfect.
right. Like, but
Mhm.
it's easy to see somebody who's like that and go, well, I can't even emulate that. I can't even go towards that person because I can't relate to them. Their life must just be peachy keen. And what can they teach me
Mm,
about being present, about being happy, about being mindful? Because they've never suffered. They can't have suffered if they're like
right.
this.
Yeah.
And so for you to come on the show and be open, and also, and listeners, I literally texted him like yesterday. we didn't do any pre-call. This is actually the first time we're sitting substantively and
Yeah.
talking about it. And I took from what you willfully put out there to kind of guide what we would talk about, but you were so open and willing to go through yourself. Like, so,
Mm.
not be hide behind a wall, not say, well, here's what you do at dawn. You go. And I know a lot of people like, what people
Yeah.
don't get about meditating is if you just do it at 3 a.m.,
Yeah.
always 12:03
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
12
Exactly.
seconds.
Yeah.
Okay, be very specific about it.
like they say that there's these steps and whatever,
Yeah.
and the fact that you're always so accommodating of the breadth of experience of practice
Mhm.
makes it more possible
Yeah.
for someone to start.
Yeah.
Like, or not feel like, oh, I can never do it, so I'll never start. Like, if you're listening, you can actually start. You can start right now. You can
Yeah.
start while you were listening to this. You can
That's
start, and those little bits of doing more and more and more will help you feel better within yourself. And like, I hope that we all are in that place, down the road. We're all just walking around waving at each other and
Yeah.
smiling at one another and able to sit with each other and be fully ourselves
Yeah.
with each
I
other.
actually like that you mentioned we could start right now, even as listening to this, because that's exactly what I did. Earlier in the
Mm.
podcast, my mind was racing. I was
Mm.
distracted. I'm like, oh no, I don't. And I'm listening to you, and I'm going, oh, this is exactly what I need, right? I don't know how to get past what's going on, the storm in my head. I'm like trying to concentrate. And
Yeah.
then I started doing what you were saying. And I'm like, okay, let me put it away and let me
Yeah.
focus on the 5 minutes before me and
Yeah.
let me really kind of meditate the way you described, where I get to just be present and just listen. And it
Mhm.
helped me tremendously to be here and
Yeah.
engaged. So I want to thank you so much. The way you describe this practice, this process is so inspiring,
Oh,
and
thank you,
it
Charles.
helps. And I hope that to anyone listening that it will help you too. I've done it during this podcast. It will help you too.
I
Yeah.
love
And
that.
so thank you so much for taking 2 and some odd hours. I think this might be our longest show. But do you have, before we go, do you have any parting thoughts or anything that you feel like a point you felt like you should have made, or something you would like our listeners to take away? And yes,
Yeah.
it's plural. I should stop saying that there's one. It is definitely more than one.
It's really
I mean, it's not
disappointing though.
you because you
Oh,
didn't.
I'm about to be another listener. Yeah, I didn't know.
How dare they?
No, it's so bad. I'll tell you, especially the first 4 episodes are like broken pancakes. Like, those are just
Okay.
but I want to give you that opportunity to say what would be a good takeaway from your perspective you
Yeah.
want the listeners to take away from
Mhm.
what we've talked about today.
Yeah. I would go as far as to say we're all always meditating. It's just a matter of what you're meditating on, what you turn your attention
Mm.
to. Most of
Mm.
us are always meditating on our anxious thoughts, or the things that we
Ooh.
think we need
You're gonna
to
drop
do
that
in a
bomb
certain.
on the end?
I know, right?
But it just made me think about it while you guys were talking. But yeah,
You angling for that part too, aren't you? I see you.
I will always talk about. I will always come talk about this stuff. It's become my life. It's a passion. There's a quote by Hafiz. It says, it says, pulling the chair out from your mind and watching you fall upon God. What else is there for Hafiz to do that's any fun in this world? That's the thing. It's like it's my whole life. My whole existence is just a series of now, and how present can I be in the now? Like in each one of these, I like to look at the life, my life, like the old school film strips, and each like in each scene is now is a panel. It's like, what can we do in this scene, in this moment, that is, or how present can I be in this moment? How open can I be to my experience of this moment? Because this is the only one I'm ever going to get. Once it's gone, and we're never going to catch up to the actual to the future. It's always just gonna. So one of the things I used to say to myself all the time is catch up to the now, catch up to the now, because the second you stop to think about anything that's not happening right now that has been in the past, you're already gone. It's like we're going on that you've reached out on the river and you've held yourself back, and it's still trying to flow. And so one of the things I always used to say is just catch up, catch back up. What's gone is gone. Well, it'll come back around if it needs us to be solved. But yeah, we're always meditating. It's just a matter of perspective. That perspective shift is everything. And like I said, infinite means infinite. So as many of the scary, and I know there are a lot, and many of the scary simulations or situations that you come up with in your head, the things that are absolutely going to happen to us or else, there are just as many, by definition of infinite, there are just as many, if not more, positive things that can happen. Miracles happen every day. And so, like, we can plan for 1,000 years, and a meteor could hit tomorrow. Just you never know.
Yeah.
And so, just look for those. Just make it a habit of being fair to yourself. We spend so much time imagining the scary situations. Imagine that there could possibly be some good things that could happen also.
I love that you said that, and actually, it mirrors something that my husband said. My husband is a wealth of wisdom and nuggets of gold like this. You know, both of us can't cry, and then, but no, but it sounds weird, but that helped me in that moment. But he said something very similar. You can agonize over all the ways in which something won't work out.
Yeah.
It's not going to work out. It's not going to work out. It's not going to work out. And then I would say that all the time. I was far more negative a person, and I don't want to say I'm jettisoning the negativity. I'm learning to live around it, is kind of what I'm trying to do. But I would do that way more often in my younger years than I do now, and I would agonize over the possible negative outcomes of a choice or a decision. And he goes, "How come you never leave room to what if it does work out?
Yeah.
You never allow yourself to hope. You never allow yourself to feel like prepared." Because he's like, you have to be prepared for it working out almost as much as, if not more so, of it not working out. Because if it's not working out, you return to current state. But if it does work out, you're different, and you got to show up now to a new state. And that was such a life-changing comment to me. And he said it almost very glibly, like, of course it could work out. Like, and that's how he chooses to move through life, is like, I got to be prepared for it working out, and I leave room for that possibility. And I had never done that before. And you were saying almost the same thing. And it made me think of that. I think for anybody listening, what if it works out?
Yeah. Things could
If you
change like
start to
that.
meditate, what if it works out? If you start to be mindful, what if it works out? What if you start to have empathy, if you start to forgive, if you start to choose to, make those choices to make yourself feel better and feel more whole and feel more you.
Yeah.
What if it works out? Like, it's, we don't always have to be afraid of it and put it to the side because it's not going to work out. Try it. Maybe it works out.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank
We
you so much.
absolutely
thank you.
will have you on again. I don't know when,
I
but
can't wait.
I hope to give you much more notice than I did this time.
No, that's fine. This stuff is always going on in my head. I just start speaking, and here's what it is.
And if really quickly before I close this out, how would people find you if they want to learn more, if they want to talk to you and get the value of your experience even for a little bit? I know you go out and you can be found meditating, and you've posted that pretty openly and honestly.
Right.
But is there any other way you would think that would be acceptable for people to reach out to you and learn more?
Yeah, I mean, I post. I mean, like you said, I make most of my posts on TikTok. There is, yeah. I started using it as a repository for the. I write down. I hear the things in my head, and I write them down, and I either speak them or I put them out there. It's more of like a journal for me, or like something that I can go back on, or maybe my kids can go back on and look at one time. I want it to be as authentic and as raw as possible. And like, these are the struggles I'm going through, and this is the wisdom that I gained from it. And if it helps, it helps. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. But it helps me, and so that's why I do it. But I do have a TikTok. I think it's EJ Smith 54 is my handle.
Well, so if it's not, just when you get a chance, look up what your handles are.
Yeah.
Of where we can follow you.
Okay.
And find you, and I'll put it in the caption on the show.
Sounds good.
And so you've been listening to Shital Weapon. This is Lethal Shital. Of course, you know Biggie Trog. I feel like I want to call you Guru Eric.
Oh God! I don't know that I want that pressure.
But we'll workshop it.
Yeah.
Workshop the name.
Can I be like a wizard or something?
Wizard Eric.
Yeah.
Level 10, Paragon 26, Wizard Eric. It's been a pleasure having you on the show. If you like shows like this, click, smash that like button, hit subscribe, follow us, find us, listen to us. Not the bad shows. Don't listen to the bad ones. Just the good
those
ones
didn't
that
happen.
I tell you.
There are
that
no
are
bad
good.
things.
This is a good one. Leave this one. And then we'll do more good ones like this. Thanks for hanging out with us today. If you love this episode, or if you at least didn't hate it, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss what's coming next. And hey, share it with your friends, share it with your family. Until next time, stay bold, stay real, peace out, deuces, and keep speaking your mind. See you soon.